Good afternoon, everybody. We're trying
Greetings and salutations.
we're trying something new. So I am hoping that everybody can hear us fine and that I know how to do audio. If we cannot, please tell me, or Brian will check it and he'll tell us.
Let me check it.
We have quite a bit to talk about today, um, and I got to get a few things off my chest. We started this portfolio, I don't know, it's been 3.5 years now. As you can see, the number on the screen shows some pretty amazing returns. We are averaging, if you look at the performance, portfolio performance here, we're cumulatively doing, and our dividend yield is about 5%. So we're around 18, 19% per year, every year. Not an accident. And every time we go and we look at YouTube, social media, investment news, all these other people who get all these views, they get tons of views. And we're getting like 10 views. And every single decision they're telling people to invest in goes down like 60%. Everybody's losing money. We're not losing money. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little frustrated. Not at like people who've been with us and watching. It's just the whole thing of like, well, you know,
We're
prove it.
doing good, so why aren't people watching? It's a little discouraging.
Yeah, that's it. So, how's the
It
audio
must be
check?
us. We must not be entertaining enough.
Could be that. I mean, there's some truth to be said for the way we invest being not exactly exciting. It's not exactly risky. It's not exactly something that, you're going to be up at 2 in the morning going, "Ooh, I won that lottery ticket. I'm going to go to McDonald's and upgrade." It's not like that. It's just kind of like, oh, the market crashed. Hmm. I think everything went on sale. That's
Let's buy
great.
more.
You buy more. And in fact, we just did get another pay raise. If you look at the portfolio, we're up to almost $320 now. So did nothing to instigate that. I don't even know which stock that actually did it. We can check that out. But if you look at our positions, and again, that income, that dividend income that you saw on the screen just now, that's going to come in whether the stocks go up or not. So we don't
Still
lose
got the same
sleep.
amount of shares.
If the market crashes, we're doing just fine. Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
I
like I
think
said, I'm
I think it's
frustrated.
like you said, Warren Buffett. People don't like to get rich slowly. They want to get rich quick.
They want that lottery ticket. We ain't no lottery ticket, but boy, does it work. I mean, man, does it work. So I digress. If you guys see me being a little frustrated and sad, one, I run a small company, so that's like really frustrating in its own right. It's hard.
That is
So
hard. Yeah.
you work like 80-hour weeks and then nobody cares. And your kids
Even
care.
less. Like I think your business cares even less about you than what like YouTube does. I think YouTube cares about you more than your customers.
Sadly, that might actually be true. They're like, "Come on, guys, we're rooting for you. Get out there. Be better, be better. We want to promote
Yeah.
you." But no. In fact, they
Make
even
good
give you
videos people want to watch. We'll send people to you. Nobody's sending customers to us. We do
no.
damn
That
good work.
we do good work. That is
We
true,
got
though.
we got to go out and find them ourselves.
Yeah. So I digress. If you guys got questions about the stocks that we're talking about, I would be happy to talk about them. We've been paying attention to Bitcoin a little bit. We don't invest in Bitcoin. I don't, anyways. There's a reason for that in the portfolio. And the last week, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, "Hey, what's going on with Bitcoin?" I said, "It's not like toilet paper. So are you going to use it the next time you go to the bathroom?" Like, what are you talking about? He says, "Well, the companies that we buy, I mean, here you go. Kimberly Clark is in the list somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't yeah, there we go. They bought out Kenvue, so they're actually not doing too well. They're on sale right now, but they pay us 5%.
1/8 plus 1/8 equals 1/4. One half is
So,
bigger than 1/3, and one
are you
third is
checking the
bigger.
audio?
Yep. Keep going. Keep talking.
I'm talking. Super exciting.
So what happened to Bitcoin? If we want to get into that, I got two words: fear and greed. That's what happened to Bitcoin.
That
That's what
sounds like the
always
whole
happens to
market.
Bitcoin. Yeah,
The whole market's like
fear and
that.
greed.
So for this month, we have to do some spelunking. We're going to talk a little bit about the new Fed appointee, Fed Warsh. I think the whole thing's a Warsh. YouTube's a Warsh. It's a Warsh. I got to wash my hands. Just wash my hands. Wash it. I don't know.
Wash your hands
Whatever.
of it.
Wash my hands of it. I'm sure he's never heard that before.
Nope. That's what
Never.
Jerome Powell's going to do in July. He's going to wash his hands of it on his way out.
So we got to talk about the Fed. We're going to be looking at a little bit into the stocks. We got to figure out what we're going to buy for next month to increase our passive income. The ones that we're looking at are all these. Actually, there's not that many left, but there's a few here that are not doing great. Rumble's on that list. It's Campbell Soup, United Health, Kimberly Clark, ADP. We just bought ADP, so we're kind of limited on that. So we got to be very careful what we purchase. We could probably go into some of these stocks here. Nelly Capital is doing really good, which is really weird to me. The housing market's not exactly doing great, and they are the largest mortgage-backed security. I think the reason why it's going up is the Fed's new appointee, this Warsh guy, from what I understand, is going to be positive for interest rates, which would really help an REIT like an Nelly Capital. So we'll see. We'll do some spelunking on that. We're going to take a look at maybe what might actually be happening with Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin is, I mean, I don't invest in Bitcoin, but okay, a lot of people do. We'll see why it is. We had a lot of questions about it, so we'll talk about that. And I think, Brian, you did a lot of the, like you were the one that did a lot of research on these particular articles. I got one here where he was talking at the Reagan National Economic Forum. I can't play the video because YouTube will be like, "Hey, you're playing the same video this guy had," and they'll kick us off.
Well,
So I can't do that. But
actually, we can. We can do that as long as we do commentary about it. If we
we do.
talk about it and give our opinions, stop it and start it, we can actually play it. I looked that up.
Oh, we can. How long do we have before it like cancels out on us?
Like 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
So
All
you can
right.
play like 30 seconds of it, and then we give our comments on what they're saying, our commentary.
Okay, we'll try it. We'll see how it does. So we got him speaking at the Economic Forum. We've got what PBS thinks of Warsh. I almost thought I had a paywall there. Didn't. So we've got obviously a pretty pessimistic view here. And then we've got the strategic mineral reserves, manufacturing stuff. We've got also to talk about the I'm not a robot. The
You
Department of
are not
Justice
a
wants to
robot.
make sure I'm not AI. JP Morgan Chase. This one was crazy to me. Agreeing to pay.
But did you read that?
I have not yet, so I wanted to
Okay.
wait for us to talk about it during the stream. But I just the title alone, they're agreeing to pay $920 million with schemes to defraud precious metals. Like what? What are you talking about? Everybody's always honest in the stock market. Nobody's greedy. It's just beautiful. It's always beautiful. It's everybody's in it not for themselves. It's kumbaya. JP Morgan sells entire 200 million ounce of silver short position. So no market manipulation going on there. We've got more very interesting stuff going on with the commercial mortgage-backed delinquency rates. So if you're not sure what that is, so commercial mortgage-backed securities are like office loans, basically. So we pay attention to those, and the reason why we have an Alley Capital in our portfolio is they're the largest residential REIT in the same space. You can kind of get a good idea of what's happening in the economy when you know what's happening with businesses and whether or not they can afford to pay their bills, in particular their rent. We have another one here. Bitcoin is crashing so hard that miners are unplugging their equipment, and your electric bill just went down.
That is true.
That's really sad. So we've got the MSTR. We talked about MSTR, I want to say a couple months ago, and somebody was saying, why don't you buy that? Why don't you buy that? It's just because their value is completely tied to Bitcoin.
Right.
Like they're tethered, and it's almost double the amount. So Bitcoin crashes 10%, they crash almost 20. So we've got an article that talks about that here. We can get into all this, and I guess for the portfolio, for all those of you that see this, these are true numbers. This is a real portfolio. We're up to 124,000. Yes, I know the thumbnail says 79, but we've done this over 3.5 years. We don't touch the money. I kind of want to, but Brian doesn't let me. So our investment income is up to almost $20 per month, and that's regardless and outside of these gains. So we're making this money rain or shine. So at the very least, I know that if I lose all of my jobs, the business falls apart, and I have nothing at all to my name, I will at least be able to afford to live in a leased Honda Civic.
There you go. Or at least 3 years.
At least 3 years. But
you get yourself back on your feet.
We did just get a pay raise. It was at about 318 a few weeks ago. I don't know which company did it. So if you want to know who that was, we'll have to dig into the stocks and see what they are. Once more, we are looking at these companies to buy for this month. We're not sure which one it's going to be yet, so stick around. We'll figure it out. What I asked Brian to do for this week, because it's been a few days, been a few weeks since I've actually given him a chance to say what he wants to talk about, and he said he wanted to talk about Warsh. So, Brian, you did some research on this Kevin Warsh guy. Which one of these articles do you want to go through, and do you possibly want to go through, try this economic forum that he's been speaking about?
Yeah, we could go through some of it because it's a very good video that basically outlines what he thinks now about how he wants to run the Fed, what the economy should be doing, and stuff like that. He has changed his viewpoint from, 10 years ago, but we all have, right? Like the things we thought 10, 15 years ago are different or slightly different than what we think about today. So people kind of get on him for that. It's like, hey, you're flip-flopping, you like to toe the line, and he kind of does. When new evidence comes to bear, you change your opinion on whatever that thing was, right? If it's contradictory and it's the truth. So I think this video is a very good outline of what he's going to do when he becomes Fed chair.
I wish I had Thug Life glasses because I never change my opinion. I'm always perfect. All right, well,
even if it's dead wrong.
Let's watch this. Let's see what this guy thinks. And I have to stop it every 30 seconds. We can comment on this. I'll probably try to be a little bit safe. And if you guys can't hear this in the audio, please tell us, and we will we'll adjust that. So
come on, man! I got it from C-SPAN. They're not going to sue us.
The one time C-SPAN is watching us.
I guess the one channel that's never political because they just show you the thing.
Let's see what he's got to say. And Brian, check the audio. Make sure this comes through okay, because this is streaming through a share.
All right.
Here we go.
There has been a lot of talk over the years that, why should we not have a digital dollar, right? Should the central bank issue a digital currency to circulate alongside the dollars that we hold in our wallets? And people have advanced a variety of arguments why this would be democratizing and so on. Other countries, China most notably, have done that. What's your view? Should the Federal Reserve?
Okay, I got a comment here right already. When's the last time you've been to a restaurant or a store and they said, we do not accept cash? The credit card companies and banks have already started doing this. There's a digital currency that the banks use, and it's based on the dollar, but it's not like it's you pull out your debit card and that little chip in there isn't like made of the like nickel or something. It's not a coin.
Right. So
I know he's saying that, but I want to remind people that this is not a new thing. Anyways.
Well, credit cards are a form of digital currency, right? The difference between, and I think this is where it really comes down to, and he'll probably talk about this too. I can't actually hear the video through Teams, so I don't know what he's saying until so you have to tell me, and it's delayed like quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think the point he's going to make is that Bitcoin, the only thing it really offers is the underlying software, which is I think, a better, more efficient way of doing the electronic transactions than what we're doing today. Because when you deposit money or you try and send money, that sometimes there's a 3 to 5 business day delay on sending the money to getting the money, right? Whereas Bitcoin is, you'll get it within minutes. So
every time I've done a Bitcoin transaction, it's hardly fast. The swap is fast, but the validation part takes forever.
There are other ones that are better, like Bitcoin was the first, but there are others that, like Ethereum, has a updated algorithm, which is faster transaction times, and that's what they're really working for, is trying to get the transaction times to near instant. So, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Get into the game of issuing a digital
And it does sound
dollar?
good.
And if not, what is the Fed's appropriate role in this space?
So in a word, no. In several words, first, it's an honor to be here. I always wondered what the shining city on the hill looked like, and it's pretty cool to see it once from my own eyes. For French, this is a little old home week because he served at the time that the president was in office. For most of us who came into government, guys like Farrier and me and some in the crowd, Reagan was our hero when we were kids, and I would say, and for many of us, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be in public policy without him.
Now, for those who don't know who this is the appointee for the Fed. This is the guy that's going to take over for Powell.
His example. Right. I'll say one other thing that I promise I'll come back with a longer answer than no to Greg's question. This is our Reagan moment. It was 44 years ago at a time like this. President's in office, the media's giving him hell. He's shaking up the establishment. He inherits a mess. People don't like what he's doing. There's some gauzy history about how easy it was. French can speak to it better than I. It wasn't easy. And this is that moment. This is that hinge point in history that we see every couple of generations. Doesn't make it going to be easy. Doesn't mean.
Why do you think he thinks this is a French?
It was 44 years ago at a time like this.
Like he's referencing the French. Why do you think that is?
Shaking up the establishment.
Says it's our Reagan point in history.
People don't like what he's doing. That
Ronald
every
Reagan?
decision's obvious, but it's super exciting. So that's my thank you to the Reagan folks. On Greg's question,
that's a guy, something French. What's his first name? Yeah, that's a person, not the country.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
the idea of a central bank digital currency works well for the
I had to wait
CCP
for it to catch up in the
who want
video
a
to
5-year
figure out
plan
what
to
you
control their people.
referencing. It's like I don't remember him talking about France at all.
I think it's ahistorical and frankly anti-American. The central bank has plenty of responsibilities in the United States. I, for one, would like them to be a narrowly focused central bank, making sure that we have stable prices as a condition precedent to full employment, not wandering into other areas.
Good luck with that, dude. Good luck. He wants the Fed to stay focused.
And there was some impetus for the central bank here and in some other Western countries to establish this. I can think of few things more dangerous than if 300 million Americans had the equivalent of a wallet at the Federal Reserve. The next crisis happens, Congress acts slowly, lobbyists come to Washington, and a bunch of politicians say, well, we really can't fill those wallets, why don't you guys just do it? This is against the grain of our
I could see that happening.
Here and in some other Western countries to establish this.
I could see that happening because Congress is slow anyways.
Constitutional republic, I would have to think that Ronald Reagan himself would be outraged by it. And the privacy that in America we take seriously would then be called into question with the central bank policing all these accounts. Another problem, of course, with it is in the U.S. just do it.
You're getting some echo, Brian.
This is against the grain of our... I can see that happening. The strength of the economy.
All right, so French
is our private sector.
Is the
We don't
House
need the
Financial
central bank crowding.
Services Chair. French Hill is his name.
Okay, we'll have to look him up.
into that anymore. I'll just say one final point. I think Farrier and Chairman Hill did the right way of describing this. Cryptocurrency in Washington and much of the country
Is the echo gone?
sounds very scary. Whoever named it that, I think, deserves demerits.
Have to play it in the
Crypto
headphones.
somehow means secret, and currency suggests it's money. Well, what a misnomer. It's software.
He's not wrong. Oh, man.
The coolest, neatest software that every 16-year-old on the planet wants to do all their work in. Software can be used for good things and bad things.
I thought he was
don't
pretty
blame
spot on
Excel
a few things.
if a spreadsheet is being used by a bunch of gangs, do I? It's important, as French describes, that there be a clear regulatory framework so this software can find its way into the economy. And as a final point, I would say we're probably on the front end of the use cases that Greg asked about. In the future, probably not that far from now, a year and a half from now, we're all going to have these devices in our pockets like we do, but they're going to be our agents. And they're going to go off and check in on our flights and see what the traffic's like and make sure the Uber's here to get us without a single instruction by us. The only
Oh, he's talking about AI now.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, he's just saying that, oh, yeah, we're just going to let this thing that's more intelligent than we are in terms of throughput, maybe not programming yet, just kind of run our lives for us. Okay, not me, but I don't know. I'll see what else he's got to say.
I think a lot of people
right
will
now,
opt in on that.
Yeah, so comfort over, boy, I don't know, that scares me a bit.
I mean, we
capacity
already are starting to do that with all the AI. I mean, asking AI to give us answers on things. So it's permeating our phones, and it'll become a thing where it's an organizational tool, and then it'll be an AI assistant that's tied to that organizational tool, and then it'll start to be able to be your secretary, receptionist, planner, and just go out and get the things that you need that's on your schedule for you. So it'll be a slow, gradual takeover, and people will just start accepting it until it's, too late.
Elon Musk is going to come out with the AI spouse, and then it's all over. That's the last generation. All right.
Well, Neuralink is going to save us from AI, evidently.
Yeah, right.
it was actually verify that I am that person. That agent is my agent. Well, that use case is being made possible by the people sitting next to me. This technology was pioneered in the United States, like AI, like much of the productivity boom that allowed the 80s and 90s to be there. I think we're on the cusp of another productivity boom.
I don't know who the other guys are. As long as our government
doesn't do harm to it, and as long as the central bank doesn't say, well, enough of this private sector, we'll do it for you.
You've written that while the Fed should not be issuing a consumer currency, it has a role to play in perhaps the issuance or management of a wholesale digital currency. Can you elaborate on that? How is that different?
Yeah, so it's radically different. The banks do their business with the central bank. Households and businesses.
Ooh, he might actually get into like currency swaps and repos and all of that.
Right.
Did he do that? Do you remember if he does that?
Briefly, yeah.
Really? Okay, that actually would help a lot of people understand like how this system actually works. Let's see how far he gets into it.
Businesses do their business with the U.S. commercial banking system and a bunch of what we call unregulated financial institutions. That's the two-tier system that is, I'd say, fits the American Republic exceptionally well. But the Fed does have a lot of plumbing that we do in making sure that the conduct of monetary policy, those pipes work, that the infrastructure in the treasury markets work, and that's what I think of as wholesale rails. Well, those wholesale rails that our government has been using were created in the last century, are not done instantaneously. Payments still take days, often weeks. They're not verifiable. They're subject to...
Okay, that's surprising for him to say that to me, where he says the transactions are not verifiable, because I used to do security compliance audits for banks, and they used to have their whole system. Each regional bank would have like a central server or something. This is back a while ago, but they would all phone home to that server. And just like cryptocurrency needs to validate the transaction chain or the blockchain, the banks had to do the same thing with their transactions, and then they would send those reports off to like the regional Fed or whoever it was that they were a part of, and then they would report it. So all the transactions were categorized, and everybody knew supposedly where the money was going. So the fact that he's just said that is it's like, really? Okay.
And how many people could do that? How many people could verify that?
Nobody that would probably be willing to.
I think that's what he's talking about. You had this opportunity to be the engineer behind the scenes that understood the code and the transaction process that happens to be able to verify that. And there was very few people, honestly, that knew exactly how that worked and how to do that. I think what he's talking about is that it's not verifiable by us, the average person. We just have to wish that it happens, you know? Whereas Bitcoin, you can go, everybody can go into the blockchain and see the verification of that. But it's not as technical.
Can you though? Can you really go into the Bitcoin and actually see all the transactions taking place? I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've got a dataless network, so I don't have the...
Yeah, go to blockchain.com/explorer and you can watch the transactions just go through. Everybody has the general ledger, so the ledger is public.
So it's funny that you can do that on blockchain, but then he's saying you can't verify it here. Okay, I'm going to keep going here.
Massive breakdowns, they're not secured, and we can't be perfectly certain exactly whether the counterparty is who we think it is. Well, that's where the new software comes in. I do think there's an important role for the Federal Reserve to help outline what the new architecture should look like, and to allow the private sector to build a wholesale new infrastructure using the coolest new software. And it's not just for little gains of efficiency. If you believe what I believe, and I suspect my colleagues up here believe, which is we want the dollar to continue to be the world's reserve currency. I believe our economy will be worthy of that over the course of the next decade and two. And we need to have the best infrastructure, so this is the place where people feel most comfortable conducting their transactions, not just between the banking sector and the government, but that's the backbone then for the rest of the private sector.
Kevin, let me come back.
I got to comment on that just briefly before we pick up again. When I keep saying that the Fed's job is to maintain the dollar as the world's reserve currency, you just heard it from the elected, like the guy who's going to be the head, that's what their job is. And there's a good reason for that. But like some of the things he's saying also are why like Bitcoin came to existence. There was a breakdown of trust. So I'd be curious to see if he gets into like how they plan on rebuilding some of that. So we'll see I don't know what this next question is, but you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That Bitcoin was made to get away from the central banks and to have a way to buy things without having government interference, right? But it sounds like he wants to take the underlying software, integrate it into the transactional system of the Federal Reserve and the banks so that everybody can use it and the banks can regulate it.
Is there really any other... I mean, it's a sovereign currency, right? This would be like saying, oh, Russia can't use the ruble. Like that's not... Or the yuan for China. Like it's gonna... they're not going to say no. Like, oh, yeah, that's fine.
There's no way you could do that. You can't just say, no, Russia can't use Bitcoin, unfortunately. Even if they do use the underlying software as a transactional system or completely replace the US dollar with Bitcoin, they can't, unfortunately, say, I'm sorry, all you people are using Bitcoin, you can't use it anymore.
There's a danger.
You got to give it to us.
There's a danger in this. I'm seeing that while he's talking, I'm picturing this unfolding, and if he does that, what they're doing is they're taking all the world's currencies, all of them, and they're putting them under one umbrella. That's what's happening here. And
the New World Order.
It's almost like maybe there's good intentions there, but like functionally, that's where this is going. Because
a unified currency is the first step to a unified government.
It makes sense to try to do that because my wife used to work in wires and swaps and stuff a long time ago, and I got to learn a little bit about it when I was doing bank audits as well. And it's like that's a really complicated system, and having that would simplify it. So I see benefits too, but it's like
Yeah.
you're stripping away any government that's not like the United States has got a really big military, right? Any government that it has to just fall in line with that. Basically, you're stripping them of their sovereign currency rights. So, yeah,
I see it more like this. I see them, instead of adopting Bitcoin as a sovereign currency of the United States, taking the US dollar and using the Bitcoin algorithm and encryption system to create a digital dollar, US
yeah,
dollar.
that's what I see too. I see them doing that. So, all right, let's.
Back to you, because I want to pick up on a point that you made in the earlier remarks, and it's a point you've made often, including at your remarks for the at the International Monetary Fund a month or so ago. And you talked about essentially the Fed's, I was going to call it the mission creep, but in your view it's more of like a mission race or a mission expansion, is like this vast multiplication of Fed responsibilities and facilities
He
and
talks
so
a lot
forth
about this.
is a problem. I think you've talked about it crowding out private sector activity, and you
That's why I
you
said
referred
good
to the
luck.
Fed's balance sheet as, in some sense, a proxy for the imprimatur of the Federal Reserve on the private economy. It's around $7 trillion, a consequence of quantitative easing, a program that began when you were on the Board of Governors. Do you believe that the Federal Reserve, through that mechanism specifically, but in general, is posing a serious financial freedom and stability risk to the economy? And what should be done about it? I mean, what do we do about that giant balance sheet? What should the Fed do?
Sure. So when I joined the Fed in 2006, I remember calling my dad and telling him I was going to do that. And first thing he said is, so you couldn't
That's
get
when
a job in the private
investing in
sector, could you?
earnest.
I grew up in a small town, and the only thing he knew, he was a small town businessman, reasonably successful. He said, oh, that's the thing that Greenspan runs. So he knew about that until the global financial crisis in 2008. From the darkest days of that crisis, where we went, as Chairman Volcker said, to the very edge of our powers to try to save the republic from a massive depression, and we got very aggressive, and in my view, rightfully so. The central bank was created in 1913 to respond to panics,
He makes
much
a lot of
more
sense
so
here.
than to mess around with interest rates. So it was aggressive moves. But from that moment, really, until this day, the central bank has stayed on the front pages. Instead of going on the front pages when the crisis hits in '08 or the pandemic hits in 2020, the central bank has become the most important economic institution in the world every
he's not
day
wrong.
for all seasons and all reasons. It wasn't that long ago that we would read about the central bank in an article Greg Ip would write a couple of his jobs ago. Today, the Federal Reserve met as they do every 6 weeks, and they raised rates a quarter or cut them a quarter, and it wasn't in everyone's lives. The central bank has now decided, probably with the best of intentions, that they are going to play a more permanent role in the economy, in the business of banking, and I would also argue in the fiscal business of the country. I'll use an example.
Okay, that is what we've been saying. They've been doing for the entire time this channel has existed. Like we've
Yeah.
been saying, it doesn't matter if you're a right appointee or left appointee. This is what they've been doing. And this is why, like, when you see they raise or lower rates, you see the stock market react to it. You see Wolf Street, Wolf Richter does articles on it from the posts that they have. Like, the fact that they're acknowledging that, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is the first time I've seen an appointee that actually said, yeah, this is what we do. Interesting. Okay.
And he says that's not what we should do. We should just, during economic crisis, that's when the Fed really kicks into high gear, does its thing to make sure the economy doesn't collapse. Then when that's done, go back into the Batcave and wait for the next economic crash and just
What-
kind of tweak things.
That really tells you how much they had to intervene in 2008, doesn't it?
Yeah, and 2020.
And, well, hopefully not again soon, but maybe.
example of
I
that
don't.
to
I
tell
don't
the
think
balance
there'll be
sheet
another
story.
shutdown like there was.
In 2008, in the
Hopefully
darkest days of the financial crisis, as people in this room will remember, the markets were down 60, 70%. The real economy was running away from us. If the U.S. economy went down, the world was going to be in a bad place. So we were willing to take some risks. And we decided, after some major internal debate, we'd buy the bonds of our own government. Secretary Paulson was issuing bonds on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'd buy them on Thursday and Friday. But we said to ourselves, when this crisis is over, we're not going to do this stuff again. This is, you know,
They're
this
still
isn't what
doing
the
it.
most important economy in the world does.
And he talks about
But we
that.
really never put that tool away. So the central bank's
we never
balance
put the
sheet
tool
today
away.
is an order
Yeah.
of magnitude bigger than it was the day that I showed up. So part of the reason why Chairman Hill and his colleagues in the Congress have had to witness this massive surge in fiscal spending over the last 5 years, over the last 15, is your central bank was subsidizing the cost of it. We
Yes,
were
they
showing
were.
up, not just in crises, but in times of relative peace and prosperity and buying the bonds, hiding, camouflaging the full cost of spending.
Yep.
As we sit here today, the statistic is as of January, our federal
just
government
lays
is
it right
spending
out there.
60% more money than the day before COVID, 5 years ago. I hardly remember that being a time of like an efficient, austere government, and we're spending 60% more, borrowing
Yeah.
that money from people, some of whom don't like us, at prices we probably can't afford for projects we don't need, in a time that we're at full employment. The
I'm
central bank
surprised
has made
he's-
that possible, not from a bad place, but from a good place, and in some sense they've taken
I like the fact that he's so blunt about it. Because
And you wonder why the markets crashed when he got nominated.
it's like, I like that, the brutal truth, you know. I don't,
Yeah, tell
don't
us the truth.
sugarcoat it. Don't beat around the bush. Don't give me crap. Don't tell me you're Jesus. Like, just say the way it is.
Yeah,
And
the kids would say that this guy's based.
He's based.
He's based.
Apparently not. Apparently, I'm not modern.
He's the foundation. He's the base. He's based.
He's based. He's based.
taken on these powers.
He's Warsh in
This
the Fed.
bigger central bank balance sheet crowds out the fiscal authorities, elected leaders like Chairman Hill, Treasury secretaries and governments, and has put them on the front pages. My view is we should be on the front pages when we're in real trouble. Otherwise, we should be back on page B12 of the newspaper. One final point.
Hey, right, with
One of the
dividend dues, we're back
consequences
there.
of this institutional drift into all
Think he'll do an
sorts of
interview?
business, climate
Maybe.
policy and everything else, is the inflation that we've witnessed over the course of the last 5 years. Now, for most of us in the room, it hasn't been that big of a deal. We know it when we go to the grocery store, but we also own financial assets. Maybe we own some Bitcoin. 52% of our fellow Americans own no financial assets. They don't have equity in their house.
Yep.
They don't have an account at Schwab. They don't have an account at Coinbase.
In fact,
They're
they have
living
a
off their
negative
W-2
asset. It's
income.
not positive. It's negative.
And this surge in prices have destroyed them. It's the most regressive tax any government could ever come up with. Imagine if we had a central bank that had been deadly focused on that. I think we wouldn't have taken a divided country and made it more divided. When we have a big balance sheet, we're asking for the inflation that came. And as a final point, my own judgment is the story that I hear from many of my peers. Well, the inflation, well, that's not really the central bank's fault. That's because of Putin and the pandemic.
Really?
Nonsense.
Yes,
A change in prices
okay.
happens in a market economy because of shocks in the world. Changes in prices happen every day. That's not what inflation is. Inflation is when that change in prices become embedded. It's second and third order effects. And that's what's been the biggest harm to the country. My recommendation is a smaller balance sheet.
So I said I
Takes
like
the
this
Fed
guy
back to
so far.
a more manageable size, a more serious job. And interestingly, if you can have a smaller balance sheet, you can have lower interest rates. Back to
I
you.
wonder how he's going
much
to go
smaller?
about doing that.
So when I joined, the Fed balance sheet was about $880 billion, included a bunch of foreign currencies. We do need some balance sheet to take to do our underlying business, to help run the treasuries, to help be a good counterparty to the rest of the central banks in the world. The economy's obviously grown since then. I wouldn't want to put a precise number on it, but right now the Fed balance sheet is about $7 trillion. They are participating in almost every banking market, almost every day. The world has come to rely on the central bank's massive imprimatur. I would say it is true.
It's nothing like
That's
our
a lot
debt.
of money.
That is a lot of money. It's nothing like our debt, though. Have you seen what we have to pay every single day now?
Yeah, it's more than the defense budget. He talks about that, I think. He talks about how how what we pay on our deficit is more than the defense.
I want to see how he plans on tackling that, too. Let's keep going.
Trillions larger than it needs to be. We can't make this change overnight. But if markets knew that our objective was to get to a balance sheet that was as riskless as possible and as small as possible, and we would get there in due time and with a strategy, I think markets and market participants could well adjust to it. The central bank could then be a powerful central bank, but a more limited one, and I would argue wouldn't find its way in harm's way politically or economically.
To be honest, sometimes I actually have no idea what's going on until I open my
advertise me.
Boom.
I have to ask you this. I will come to you because this is important too for the work you're doing. But you brought up politically at the end. How important is it that the Fed be independent in monetary policy? You said operational independence, but does that mean, for example, that governors, including the chairman, should be free from the risk of being fired for other than cause?
See, Greg started out so softly. We're talking about crypto. And then you see the Fed beat reporter in him come out here at the end. I believe in the operational independence and the conduct of monetary policy as a political economy matter. I think the economy is better off if the world perceives, markets perceive, members of Congress perceive. You got central banks that are calling it the best they see it.
The problem I have with that is they're not elected. They're setting monetary policy and they're not elected.
Not by the people.
That's I take issue with that, but
yeah. And they're not part of the government.
Man, it's getting deep.
Yeah.
Being a central banker is not a prize for the perfect. These are hard jobs, lots of uncertainty. The data is a mess. But the world's better off if they think they're doing their level best to call balls and strikes. But the operational conduct of monetary policy doesn't mean that the Fed shouldn't be criticized. Central bankers should not be pampered princes. If Chairman Hill and his colleagues think that we're doing a terrible job at the central bank, they should be able to call it out. Same thing with the president. As a matter of fact, I'd rather the president call out his consternation with the central bank to the world than do what used to happen in generations past. I don't mean to be invoking President Reagan again, but being summoned to the Oval Office for a little quiet to-do about what you're doing and right. Central banks were created
meeting, by the
so
way.
that politicians would have someone to blame for this.
Which one?
None of
Reagan?
this is new.
Reagan,
I
yeah.
read breathlessly in the newspapers how mean these politicians are to the central bank. Well, grow up. Be tough. And here's the most important thing. What's the secret to central bank independence? Hitting its objectives, doing its job.
Big lobbyists.
Imagine we had stable prices in the last 5 years like we did for most of the 30 years before it.
I don't know in this,
Well,
but
there
he does
wouldn't really
talk
be
about
much of a political fight to be had. Doing its job and having stable prices is the Fed's plot armor. It is how we can succeed and thrive. I call it plot armor. I learned this from Mark Andreessen, who's going to be our lunchtime guest. He introduced the expression to me. I'm a big James Bond fan. I watch all the movies. But James has plot armor. We know they're never going to get him.
All right. I bought what he said about James Bond until I saw the tie. It just doesn't work. It's not working for me.
The blue tie?
It's just not. It's not James Bondy. I picture more like a solid color, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Because we want to watch the next movie. The Fed's plot armor is being good at its
James
job.
Bondy, is that
and
Pam
so my own
Bondy's
judgment is
husband?
the failings in its job, not just in achieving stable prices, but wandering into things in which they have no business-like climate, suggest that the politics are happening somewhat closer to home. After 9/11, the American people demanded what went wrong? after the 2008 financial crisis and all the harms that were done. The American people, elected representatives, said, well, we got to get to the bottom of this. How did this happen? Let's connect the dots. Somehow.
Okay. Yes, that happened, but then there was an election cycle, and all the people that were asking for it because you switched parties didn't care anymore. So it just kind of got swept underneath the rug.
Yep.
So let's see what he says here.
After the great inflation that served many of us well and did great harm to our fellow citizens, barely a peep. What are the fundamental reasons why this happened? Is it really because of Vladimir Putin and the pandemic, or is it something we could have controlled ourselves? It was a very quiet group.
Elections have consequences.
This group in the House of Representatives decided this deserves the same level of scrutiny. I think it's essential. I think it's important. I think it's not been done. And just to give another example, after the '08 crisis, the Dodd-Frank Act was put in place because we were going to make sure we'd have fundamental reform of our banking supervision and regulation. That thing had been running for 15 years. All of our bank regulators said, great news, we've got a safe and sound banking system till February of 2023. Two relative.
Yeah, until you saw all the unrealized losses. We looked at that. So right about that time, that's when we started talking about it on the channel.
Small banks, hardly ones that we thought were systemically significant, had a bit of a run. The regulators thought everything was just swell until they weren't. And we've never asked the question about, well, maybe all that Dodd-Frank legislation didn't work. Maybe our banking system is not safer and sounder. Maybe we've created less competition. And I think we got to get to the bottom of it. The more honest we are about what we're doing right and wrong, the more we can fix it. And if we
Okay, I can break it down real simple for him. When American wages, like, for example, 50,000, I remember when I was in the 1990s, I worked at AutoZone, and there was a guy that came in to do parts for his truck or something. He's like, and I make $50,000, and that was a lot in the 90s.
It was.
Go to Indeed.com right now and take a look at the jobs. Jobs are paying $50,000. Sometimes you can make more if you're a director. Maybe you can make 100, but maybe you can make 150, depending upon wherever the region is. But the price of a house back then, I remember my mom built a big house. It was like $330,000 back in the 90s. So that was crazy expensive. Everybody thought she was rich. Well, they didn't say that. They didn't know she was super leveraged and barely making the payments. But the point was that you could buy a house for under $100,000 easily. There was downtown Grand Rapids or anywhere, even Detroit, before the huge fallout there, you could buy $20,000, $30,000 house. And the mentality back then was that, you would never lose money investing in real estate. They didn't know that 2008 was about to happen. But the point I'm making is that $50,000 salary back then actually bought you something. Today, right, you can barely pay for a truck with that.
Yeah. I mean, $130,000 back then would get you a 3,000 square foot home.
You can get into the semantics of like, well, the rich people, there are rich people out there who are getting richer, but the problem is there was this middle class, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just like this. There's not really much of a middle class left. In order to become middle class today, you have to have two people making a ridiculous paycheck in your household. And then what do you do with your kids if you have kids? So people are like, well, the problem is the birth rates are low. Yeah, because millennials can't afford children. Daycare is more expensive. So I have 3 kids. My wife, she's working at the bank. We looked at the cost of daycare, and she has her notary. She was a loan officer. Her working full time was going to take home negative money just with daycare.
Right.
In the 90s,
so
it wasn't like that. It wasn't.
Well, that's why
like
people nowadays who work part time, because daycare is supplemented at that point, and they get their daycare paid for. If they went full time, they'd have to pay for that. And the full-time pay doesn't pay for what they're losing in daycare. So they stay part-time, even though they could get full-time, they could get insurance and all that stuff. But now they're just wards of the state, not wards of the state, but they're living off state money because it's not economically efficient to work full-time.
I would say that the reason this happened is because people forgot, our culture's forgetting God, number one. Number two, we forgot what the family's supposed to be. You gave that up. We gave that up. Do I think women are less than men? No. Do I think they're different than men? Yes, they are. And that's not bad. So, like, when you give up those things and you've got nowhere to worship, you've got no family to base your, like, foundation on, what do? Your job or your government becomes your basically the thing that you lean in on. And now we have it where everybody's working. So sure, we had a huge stock market boom. We had all these things that happened where financially everything looked great, but we're eroding the foundation of the house. If you keep doing that, eventually the house is going to fall over. Yeah. So this K-shaped economy that we have now, and you can see it all over the place, that is the result of what's happening. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't think there's an easy fix for that, because once you get to like $10 million, your dividend check income, if you go back to our portfolio and look at that, we'll poke that in a minute. Your dividend check income is over like $400,000. You're in the top 1% of income in like half of the states in the country. Just with dividends. How is anybody going to ever catch up to you?
I could add to that too, because I think one of the underlying problems is there's an unrealistic expectation of quality of life these days. I think people are seeing how other people are living, and like kids just coming out of college want that right away. They want that big house with the cars and the 80-inch TV and all the things that come with it, and they also want some sort of family, but they can't afford all that. So they either get the stuff or they get the family. Well, if they put their quality of living down just a little bit, they could have that family. Like, one person can make enough for, a family of four, but that means you can't have all the stuff that you want, all the materialistic stuff that you want. Like so, but you could get a house, you could get clothes, and you could get food. But above that, you're not having much fun.
No, I would venture a guess now that somebody trying to do the same thing today, right now, if they were 25 years old, has to be making minimum $72,000 a year, or it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be too tight. And if you are able to do it, you're living in like the hood, man. You're not living in you're not living in luxury. That's for sure. Nope. So let's finish this up. I think there's only 3 minutes left. So let's see what he's got to say to finish it up.
If we don't fix these things, the 21st century will not be ours. It will be some adversary.
Why I get triggered when someone gives me unsolicited advice. When I was younger, it came
therapy online. On the other I need side that.
Of the world.
With treasury market dislocation and foreign repatriation of bonds and dollars,
he doesn't say it's China,
what are the risks for Fed and Treasury now to keep market integrity, especially with swap FX structures and trades? I don't know if you saw Jamie Dimon speaking earlier today, but he talked a lot about his concerns about the ability of a market that transacts in the trillions of dollars a day to maintain its integrity. So I'll put that question to you, but I might actually put it a bit more broader and just say, what keeps you up at night? You've lived through a horrible one 15 years ago, and you know better than anybody that there's always something out there lurking. What are the extant risks to our financial system that we need to worry more about?
So how do you say China without actually saying China?
Across the world.
So what keeps me up at night mostly are red eyes from here back to the East Coast. Otherwise, I sleep pretty well. I've been out of government 12 or 13 years now, so most of the scars from the global financial crisis have healed until guys like Greg bring them up again, and guys like French threaten to drag me back into things. So I'd say the biggest risks that the U.S. have are risks that no one's talking about, almost by definition. If financial markets and households or businesses are really focused on something, the amazing thing about the American spirit is in our own haphazard way we deal with it. I would just note a couple things. One is we need to keep our eye on the ball. For all of the significant risks that the U.S. economy and the country is facing, I would rather have our cards than anyone else's in the world by far. George Shultz, who was my mentor at Stanford a million years ago and served under President Reagan, I remember working with him on a little project about something, and he interrupted me He was a dear colleague of Mike Boskin's, who was a friend and mentor and another Hoover fellow.
Does he actually answer?
What George would say is the broad conduct of government policy doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, even in the heyday of the Reagan era, it never was. Government policy just can't be too destructive. And if we can achieve that, the U.S. economy will be in great shape. The problem over the course of the last several years is government policy has been too destructive. Too destructive to banks, too destructive to individual liberty in the post-COVID era, too destructive.
We're a small business, right? The largest thing that we have right now as a bill is taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
By the way, this is his
bill.
answer to that question.
Okay, all right.
Of technology and innovation. If over the course of the next few years we can just try to arrest most of that destruction, what we used to describe in economics as the micro foundations of macroeconomics, this has nothing to do with the brilliant conduct of monetary policy or fiscal policy. The micro foundations are what matter. And what is that a fancy word for? The culture of this country. The willingness to work hard, take a risk, have it fail, and try again. Everybody, no matter where you're from, there's no stigma associated with your station. You try to make it, and other people don't say, well, you're too big for your britches. This is not an American birthright, but it's why the U.S. economy has chronically outperformed from 1946 until this very day. But if we do harm to those micro foundations...
I don't disagree with him there. I think it's stupid and folly to bet against America, but he's still not answering it.
We decide we just want to try to hold on to what we've got. We let some of the things that are most important, like stable prices, eat at the conscience and the integrity of an opportunity society. Well, we're going to be no better off than a lot of these countries with whom we're trading with. That's why this moment is such an important moment. That's why getting policy right at this inflection point, like we haven't seen in 44 years, is huge. And if we do that, the 21st century will be our century. I'm not so worried about the other guys on the other side of the ocean. They're not doing a lot to motivate their technology sector. They are not freeing their people to create and innovate. A lot of them want to come to the U.S. where they can do their best work. If we can focus on what we do best and try to copy someone else's 5-year plan, we're going to be just fine. So while this might seem like a scary moment for a lot of us hanging around government and the private sector, this is the best opportunity we've had, and I have a parochial American view. If the U.S. does well and can get through this inflection point as well as President Reagan did 44 years ago, our allies are going to love us like never before, and our adversaries will be scared of us. The essential thing is that we grow during this period, and if we do, that'll take care of a lot of the problems that are subjecting us and causing us to think that this is a period of malaise.
I'm 103. Yep. So basically he's saying, let's not make policy and enact any type of disorder that harms free markets, that harms businesses to do their job, to create jobs and make products that people want to need. But also we need to have some checks and balances so that those corporations don't run amok.
I get it, but that's all fluff talk.
It is. He didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the risks that he sees and that he needs to tackle.
The harsher reality of that is that we have a $37 trillion debt load that we've just been running amok on for the past 2 decades. Yep. I would have ventured to guess that it was even maybe a little bit longer than that. Back when he mentioned Reagan, 18% interest rates. Yeah, yep. I think that was about the time where it started to take off and get away from them a little bit. But you got to tackle that. You can't just be like, oh, we're going to make it more friendly for business, because the only thing that they're doing at that point is, oh, we're just going to lower rates. We're going to make the economy white hot. We're going to kick the can down the road. And at that point, it's going to become a barrel.
But there's more. There's more to the story, because his outlook on it is if he shrinks the balance sheet of the Fed, Congress the cue that they need to curb spending because they don't have the subsidies from the Fed just paying for all their programs. So this will force them to be a little bit more fiscally responsible. And there needs to be some sort of Congress that will tackle that and become fiscally responsible and tackle the debt.
So you need to, basically what you're saying is Congress needs to grow a pair. Got it.
The Fed needs to stop buying all the bonds that the Treasury sends out, and they call it kind of a Ponzi scheme.
I would wonder what would happen if the Fed just said, "No, I'm not buying those." Because China kind of pulled back too. So who's going to buy them? What's going to happen to the rates then? It's going to go up, 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 because nobody's going to be buying the bonds.
It's going to be a twofold thing, because he's going to be lowering interest rates, right? A quarter here, a quarter there, whatever. Then shrinking the balance sheet, which will raise. There's going to be a tug of war here that's going to raise interest rates. So he's going to be working against himself. So hopefully he could balance that so it doesn't just skyrocket.
I think what he can do is I think he can set the course, but I don't think he's going to be able to turn it around. Not in the time that he has.
Well, I mean, he could have 15 years, right?
Maybe. I mean, it could be like a Yellen or a Greenspan or something. But
Bernanke was in there for a long time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Greenspan was there for a long time. But here's also the part that people are not forgetting. Yeah, he's the chairman, but there's a board of regulators that he works with. He's not the guy who makes all the final decisions, right? He can't just unilaterally do something. He has to run it by the board and the governors. They need to vote on it, and kind of like the Supreme Court. So it's not just him. And then the New York banks, federal banks, actually really run the Federal Reserve. So
on that note, I wonder how many people realize that. Because, I mean, if he sat on the board back in 2006, 2011, they talk about it. I mean, it's the same group of people. I mean, Yellen's still around, too. So you're not getting... They talk about all this change. They talk about, we're going to do all these things. Like, yeah, but it's the same people. So, really?
He was one of the board of governors.
This is why when we talk stocks and we talk about investments, this is why we invest the way we do. We know that if, regardless of what happens to monetary policy, and Tom, the dollar is going to go away, Bitcoin is going to take over. Okay, well then I will just sell my stock in whatever these positions are for whatever the currency is at the time.
I don't think you even have to do that. I think all the money, it's like
you
just showed it. That'll just automatically be transferred to the new currency, and then you just have that, and our balance sheet would still look the same. It's just not in US dollar, it's in USD crypto.
Yeah, something. When I talk to crypto guys about that, boy, they get mad at me. They don't like that. Like, oh, no, that's not how it'll work. I'm like, well, it kind of is. I mean, I don't see how any major corporation tied to the government or the government itself or any major corporation that's not tied to the government would even allow that legally to happen. They have lots of attorneys. Even attorneys would probably be like, nah, we're not doing that.
There's already a USD coin, which is tied to the US dollar. So it's not like it's not there. It's just not a sovereign currency of the United States.
Not yet.
So
I didn't know he was 35 when he hit the board.
Yeah, he was one of the youngest. He was the youngest, I think, governor at the time.
That's good, though. We need younger blood in positions like this.
I think he's 54 or something now, or 50 something, lower 50s.
I mean, no disrespect, and I have no malice against the boomer generation. Like, I have nothing wrong against them, but let us try, for goodness sakes, let go.
Gen X is not even going to get a chance.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, Gen X is just like, what the hell? We don't even get the chance here.
By the time the boomers let it go of it, it'll be the millennials' turn. And we're already being too old.
I mean, that's so it's just not good. Pass the torch. Run with us or something. Don't just steal it and run off to the sunset.
How about you mentor the next generation to take your place when you turn 70 or whatever,
Exactly. These guys are old. I don't have, sure, fine, good guys, bad guys, whatever. I'm glad they're working hard and doing things, but like, pass the baton, please.
Right.
It's long past time.
And you could go off and be like a board of directors or something.
Yeah, they could still be involved. Like, you could still be there. It's kind of like, Warren Buffett finally stepped down, but he had his successor there for 10, 15 years at the point where, like, hey, you're going to be this guy. And that was a very peaceful, solid transition. Let's try that. I do like, everybody knows I kind of tend to vote to the right, but I do like John Fetterman, the Democrat guy. He's probably the most centrist guy I've seen out of that party in a long time. Long time. There
You just
needs
like
to
it
be.
because he wears sweatpants to Congress.
He doesn't
Wears
care.
shorts.
That's it's a little disrespectful, but I get it. Honestly, I get it.
He wants to be comfortable.
Oh, so although we got the article here from Epoch Times talking about what to know about Kevin Warsh, Trump's nominee for the Fed chair, we just watched a video about like what his thoughts were, and very typical, very like, hey, we're going to go get it done. This is going to be happy, but he kind of skirted around some of the answers, despite some of the questions being very direct. I liked out of all of that, I did like some of the things that he had to say, so I'm holding out hope. We've got here now is like BlackRock executive Rick Ryder, if that's how you say his name, and National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett previously had the best odds, so Warsh won over those two.
Yep. And Warsh has been in the running for a couple different positions under Trump. He just didn't get them until now.
You want the ball and chain? Here you go.
Like he was up for Secretary of Treasury in the first Trump era, and a couple other things.
We got this other one here. This is from PBS, and this is talking about like what economic? What is that? What economic experts think about Trump's choice of Kevin Warsh for Fed chair.
See, just to show that I give everybody a fair shake, I got Epoch Times, who's far right, and then I got PBS, who's far left.
Oh, don't tell them that, though. You get them all mad over at PBS. We are not. It's kind of like NPR. They had one Republican editor on staff, and they found, like, he got found out, and 2 weeks later he's gone.
But to their point, these two articles actually read pretty centrist.
Do they?
Yeah.
So they say Warsh is a lawyer, not an economist. Well, of course, half of them are lawyers anyways.
True, but if you look at like Yellen and Bernanke and all, they have the PhD in economy, right? Economics. So that's what they're saying. The board members, the governors, most of them are PhDs in economics, whereas like him and Jerome Powell were not. They're JDs.
Lawyers.
So they're lawyers.
Yeah, they said they view the world through a different cultural lens than macroeconomists. I can't even say it. Macroeconomists. Yeah, that's it.
But don't get confused by that, because even though he is a lawyer, he got his law degree, he does have like a minor in economics. So
you can't even say it.
you got me flustered with economics. But yeah, so it's not like he doesn't understand macro and microeconomics.
He certainly answered the questions like a lawyer. I'll give him that. Like he was very well polished, but he didn't really. It's kind of like a soap opera, you know. You get to the days of our lives, and you know they're not quite breaking up, but they love each other still. And 10 episodes later, well, they almost broke up, but maybe we're not sure if they love each other, but we think they do. Like nothing changed.
Here's the thing about lawyers, and I think specifically Warsh too, because they never ask you a question that they don't already know the answer to. Right?
They ask you a question. Answer the question with a question, then answer that question.
So it's the same thing with him. Like when he answers a question, he tells you when he knows it, he's brutally honest, right? But if he doesn't necessarily know it in and out, he doesn't really answer the question.
So Gertler said here, the reason I'm not too worried is Powell was not an economist either. But Powell learned over time. In fact, I think he learned pretty well. Okay, but why would you want him learning in a job like that? Maybe like understudy or something, but not, like, you don't learn as the top guy. Anyways, I'm hopeful that the same will be true with Warsh. That is, putting him there with a bunch of economists, and they will help sharpen his thinking. So they're painting him as a like inexperienced guy right there. It might be
like an outsider.
Yeah, that's a very liberal take on it. But okay,
forgetting the fact that he was a governor, a Fed governor, and went through the 2008 crisis with all the economists that are in the Federal Reserve in the trenches with them making policy.
Yeah, that's a very PBS left-wing thing to say. Like, we're just going to gloss over all those facts and ignore everything and just kind of paint this nice little convenient picture of ineptitude over here. So, yeah, that's funny how they omit things. They're not lying, but, they're not really telling you everything either. So, in many ways, Warsh is a conservative pick. Well, no kidding. He's an academic with experience in the executive branch as well as on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. So they do actually admit it, finally.
Yeah, later.
And what are we, halfway through the article? And is knowledgeable about the financial... Okay, so how can you say that he's not knowledgeable and then say that he is?
He's knowledgeable about the financial markets, but inexperienced in the financial markets.
And now they say he's a serious guy with a long track record and a deep experience. They contradict themselves.
Yep.
So Gertler said, I guess it's better to be contradictory than like only say one thing and ignore the rest. So
well, the further you go into the article, the more they're like for this guy.
But I think the reason why they do that is I saw it was on Washington Post, I believe, and Bloomberg came out with something like this too. They said that most people, when they look at an article, and maybe this is true of our channel too, and why the algorithm hates us so much. But you've got they will read the title, they'll read the first couple of paragraphs, and this is why they put the subscribe thing here, because most people will just gloss over the rest. They won't even finish reading it. So
speaking of subscribing, if you've liked this channel so far, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you could be notified for future. Anyway,
Brian's like, I want to eat today. I would like some shoes.
I just want to do this full time so we could do a better job at it.
So he's an economic. I said it wrong. He's an academic with experience in the executive branch. So he said all that stuff and
serious guy, good track record, specialized expertise.
He thinks setting interest rates isn't easy. It's straightforward. Okay.
It's not easy, but it's straightforward.
I would, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think it's easy or straightforward, but now they're saying that this is not them saying it. This is Klein saying it, where he's like, he's not some outsider. This is like Pete. So this is
it's not like Pete Hegseth or Christy Nome.
So now they're saying
he's an insider.
This narrative again. Yeah, they think this is a Trump guy, is what they're saying.
He's a Trump guy, but he understands the Fed because he's worked there and he's inside. He's part of the group, part of the club.
Warsh likely understands the Fed culture and is unlikely to try and tear the place apart, Gertler noted. And that's giving experts a reason for some, just a tiny bit, just a teeny bit, relief. Okay. Trump is likely motivated by pressure from the markets. No, I would say that Trump is likely motivated by wanting to keep his promises, and he doesn't like failure, and he will not admit to it, and will keep fighting to make sure that he doesn't do it. So I think this is more like, hey, we voted for this thing, let's make this happen. Whether there's consequences to that or not, that's the thing that after his administration that we're going to find out. We're going to find out during the administration. We're going to find out afterwards. Just like Biden, you think, oh, well, everything Biden did was great. It's like, no, everything Biden did is happening now. Just like Obama and just like Clinton and just like Bush. Like the economy is not like, oh, you're going to get a check. I'm going to turn around the economy tomorrow. It takes years.
Yeah. Clinton was a great president until you start digging into his policies and the things, the hooligans that have went on during his presidency.
I think everybody's going to remember him for the Monica Lewinsky thing. I did not like that. That's holy cow, dude. I feel bad for his wife in some ways.
I think the greatest thing he ever said was in the grand jury, define the word "the." And they just looked at each other like, oh.
See, yeah, see, I got that.
Anybody got a dictionary? Thought it.
So, number 3, based on his past and latest statements, it is uncertain how he'll approach policy. He's hawkish, yep. He was one of the guys that wanted to lower. Okay, so like at least I think he was. He was.
See what they're talking about in the past. He was kind of like Powell. He didn't want to lower interest rates for fear that it's going to eat up the economy and then ruin it, right?
But you want
increase
that though.
Inflation.
You want in a position like that, you need somebody to be reserved. Yeah. Because if they're not reserved, they could white hot overinflate the economy or bring us into a really bad
another
depression.
2008.
Yeah. So you want the subjectiveness not to be subjective. You want it to be objective and reserved. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, there's that paragraph. Read that paragraph. But recently, he's changed his tone on the subject. In an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal in November, Warsh argued that inflation is a choice. Remember that, because it's going to come up a lot. Blamed the Fed for not moving fast enough and said the agency should lower rates.
You and I said that a year and a half ago. Now is the time. Now is the time. But
he was saying that as well at that time. On the other hand, Warsh has been relatively consistent in opposing the Fed's policy of quantitative easing or the large-scale buying of assets such as mortgages. So,
I agree with that too. Wolf Richter and Wolf Street, I've seen him say the same thing. It's like, you're kicking a can down the road when you do that, and you're making the problem worse at that issue. So I don't disagree with him there.
Yeah.
Now these guys say 6.5, but it's actually over 7. So
it changes depending on what article.
That's the stupid thing too. When you look at the financial articles, this is the amount of money you need in net worth to be the top 10%. You go to Yahoo, it's 1.4. You go to MSN, it's 3.8. You go and you ask AI about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's really only like 300,000. It's like, what is it? What number is it? Well, it depends on where you live. It's like, no, you take them all together. What is it really? And you come down to like the bottom line is like, if you make over 6 figures and you got more than $100,000 in net worth, you're already in the top 20%, which is like surreal to me to think of that. But the top 10%, it does peak up to about like somewhere around $500,000. But that's I need to move on.
Here's where he says what I said. One possibility Klein sees is Warsh cutting interest rates, which would juice the economy, and selling assets, which would likely increase rates, meaning the two actions could cross-cut each other. The overall economic impact is unclear because no one's ever done that.
I would like to see if Wolf Street's watching or any one of those guys, ask Wolf Richter. I'd like to see his take on that. He's been doing this for a long time. I think that I understand the Fed lowering their balance sheet. Like I get them selling assets. That's okay. I'm not sure it's going to have the effect that he thinks it will, because those rates have a direct implication on businesses. So you're trying to. Yeah, I want to like bookmark this, and we should come back to that.
You want to get Wolf's take on it? He's got an email. We could send it to him. Pose the question. So
he's going to be cutting interest rates that would juice the economy. True. You cut the interest rates, businesses can get like cheaper loans and stuff. And now they're saying, and then he's going to also be reducing the balance sheet, selling assets, which would then put the other pressure back on it.
Yeah.
So I think what he's trying to do, if I'm understanding how this all works correctly, is he's trying to put them in a better position for the future, which is why I said anything he does right now is not going to, like I said, the Biden administration, we're seeing that today. Trump's administration, we're not going to see that for 3-4 years. Like, I think what he's trying to do is set this up for the fact that if there is a problem, they can bring that balance sheet back. They've got room to do that with. As far as like what's going to actually happen to interest rates, I don't think that's going to move them hardly at all. And historically, they're a little high, but they're not in a terrible place.
No, so, they're not, 15% or even 9% anymore. I think this right here is a 10-year plan. I think he needs to be in the chair's spot for 10 years to see all this actually happen and get the economy down to where it needs to be. There's going to be some short-term gains and turmoil, but I think it's going to be outside of Trump's presidency.
Yeah, and there's so many levers to pull. You got GDP, you've got population growth and or decline. You've got there's a lot of macroeconomics that can influence this. So I understand why he might want to do that, but I'm not sure it's going to have the effect that he thinks. It might position them better, which, okay, great. Oh, that's the whole article. Okay, so he said he's not going to come in and be able to unilaterally do things, he said. Well, of course there's a board.
A whole board.
Yeah. Gong show statement. All right, we've got some more articles here about this. I want to make sure we get through all the stuff about Warsh before we talk about JP Morgan, because that to me seems crazy. Crazy. And I think that's what we're at.
Yeah, I had a few more articles on Warsh, but they start to say the same things. So that was the gist of what the Warsh impact could be. We won't know until it's actually in there. But
what do we think? I mean, I think Bitcoin crashing is a part of this. Precious metals and stuff, I think them crashing, that's probably businesses taking profit.
But I think Bitcoin is as well. I think, and I need to do some more research and go through the blockchain to find out, but I think there was, I don't even know if it was coordinated, but the Warsh appointment gave whales an excuse to crash the market to bring the price down so that they could get back in lower and make more money. I think there's some manipulation going on there in the Bitcoin world, which there always has been. I mean, let's be honest. There's always some manipulation. And just like gold and silver, there's always some manipulation.
Speaking of the manipulation, there's you shared this with me. And by the way, everybody, oh, look, we made some more money today. When we post that we're up at 239% and we say $79,000, this is actually where we're really at. We're at $124,000 in this particular portfolio, and it's up 255. We don't want to make false promises to people. So we try to publish numbers that are based on more like where it actually should be at, and not like what it currently is at. We think that, well, maybe it's overvalued a little bit today, maybe not. So we'll get into some of the positions in a little bit, but you were talking about some fraud. So that's a really good lead into this. So what happened to JP Morgan Chase and Company agrees to pay $920 million in connection with the schemes to defraud precious metals?
Yeah, this article was in 2020. So keep that in mind. And if you go down, I think the actual defrauding happened between 2011 and 2014 or something like that. 2008 and 2016. There it is.
That's a long time.
So, yeah. So JP Morgan is one of the largest holders in physical silver. And they're also one of the largest holders in the paper contracts, the paper silver. They also have gold and other precious metals. But in this, so if you scroll down, there's a list of banks that went in with them to sell off the paper market, to crash the silver prices so that they could make that money on their shorts and get back in. So they made roughly
wait. So they, there was corruption, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. That's really crazy.
So they would put a bunch of orders in, which people could see, which would cause a panic, and then they would cancel their orders before they came due. So they never filled, and it dropped the silver prices over time and just crashed it. They made about $10 billion off this. They got fined $920, which they don't care because they made still $9 billion or $8.8 billion off it.
That's just, so they got a slap on the wrist and they still made what, $9 billion?
Yeah, a couple of guys went to jail for security fraud or something like that, but
Probably
for the
the
most part,
intern.
it's like Jamie Dimon, or none of them got in trouble. So
Yeah, it was the
I'm sure those
interns.
people got, yeah, they probably got a financial boost for going to jail for them. I'm sure a little bonus, but I can't
Wow.
substantiate that with facts. But that's what I would do.
So when
Yeah,
I
there's one of the
talked,
traders, 38, pleaded guilty on one count of commodities fraud and one count conspiracy to commit wire fraud, commodities fraud, commodities price manipulation, and spoofing. And his sentence at this time has not been scheduled before the U.S. District Judge.
wow, that's crazy. That's like, my neighbor told me once, he goes, Tom, if you try to short NVIDIA, because this is what he does professionally, he does day trading and stuff. And he goes, you try to short that, they're all going to see it. They're all going to see it. Hey, Matt. And they're all going to tell you that, um, you know, you shouldn't have done that because we're just going to wait. And that daily fee is just going to eat you alive. You're going to
Well,
lose
they got the
everything.
money. They have the money to wait it out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's I mean, this is a perfect example of that. Like why you don't do this.
This is part of the conversation of they've done it before, it'll happen again. And the gold and silver crash that's happening now, I suspect,
It's probably the
has a
same
lot to
thing.
do with this.
My friend, I don't want to give his name out, but he got involved with a crypto, like a Ponzi group, and they would send signals to his cell phone. And anytime there was a buy, like, oh, we're doing a call or we're doing a put or something, and he would like do the transaction at the same time. So like this whole group of people would all buy and sell at the same time. He was able to turn a couple $1,000s into like almost 50 grand in a month doing that. Is it illegal? Yes, it is illegal. I told him to stop doing it, get out of it. In fact, when he tried to get the money out, they wouldn't let him do it, and it was this big thing, and like he lost the money, and I
That's
was like,
called
yeah.
insider trading.
I said, you know what? It is better that you're in this position now. You're only out a couple $1,000s because what they're doing is not only unethical and illegal. It's just it hurts people. It's bad. Like this is bad. These are bad people. You don't want to be involved with them. And he got out, but man, I saw like online there's a bunch of lawsuits coming at them now and everything. Like, see, aren't you glad that like he's a nice guy, but I mean it's one of those guys that's almost too nice. Like he becomes a doormat and everybody just doesn't care, and it's really sad for me to see that. It's just. But anyways, this article explains exactly why what we were saying last week. This is why you should not try to day trade because the house is always going to win. And I would put JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo and Vanguard and all those guys, that's the house.
The quote unquote whales, the people with the money and the vast amounts of money, they're always going to win. They're always going to make more money.
Yeah. And you little guy, we little guys, we can't fight that. So this is why we buy what we do. And like I said,
so jump forward to 2026. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just got to make sure that doesn't time out again.
Yeah, this
All
is
right.
February 2nd, 2026. So this is just a couple days ago. This is launches American Civil Minerals Reserve and support manufacturing. This is your thing.
This is my thing. Yeah. So this was this is part of our conversation about Greenland before. So basically, what
before we get into this, let me just finish my thought.
You want to do this?
Yeah. So this is
right.
2025. So this is December 11th, just a couple months ago, when silver and gold recently just crashed. They already were doing this. So people would, this isn't exact, I mean, it's silver trade, but they're kind of skewed in one way. But if you think that they can't do it, I brought up the other article that says, yes, they can.
Yes,
and
they can. Yeah, look at that. Holy crap.
They're doing it again.
So they pay a fine They make $10 billion. Intern goes to jail for a little
I don't know
while.
if they'll get indicted.
And then, like a few months later, here
It's
we go
lucrative,
again.
right? Every 10 or 15 years, you do the crash thing, and you make a few billion. When that runs out, you do it again.
Wow.
So this just goes through what they're doing right now and the selling, how much silver they hold, and the dates. So
one of the things we do when we look at stocks is we take a look at what the market cap is. And that stuff matters. Where when you're looking at how much money is in circulation, we talk about, somebody asked me, like, why would you buy this company? Why wouldn't you buy this company? Or why would you buy Bitcoin? Or why wouldn't you? I says, well, demographics matter. It's the same thing with the housing market. We did a stream about the housing market. Demographics matter. If you've got only the top 10% that can afford 90% of the homes, you have a problem. People can't afford the homes. Something has to change. Either the people can't afford it, the low income people need to make more money so they can afford these houses, or the house prices have to come down. And we're in the same thing here, where it's like, you're going to buy what, $1,000 of gold and silver. Well, if they decide to leverage themselves 1 or 2% of the entire reserve, you're screwed no matter. I mean, you can't fight that. That's a lot more money than you have. They talk about corporate power and being able to leverage things. You talk about like some of these stocks and what happens. Look at what's going on with Kimberly Clark right now. They just bought Kenvue. Well, if you know the history of Kenvue, you know that used to be under Johnson & Johnson. So why would these companies do these things? And you can see right here that they have lots of ways to skin a cat. They have lots of ways to make money, and they don't, because it's a stock, they don't necessarily have to pay you back. So you better darn well make sure that whatever it is that they're selling has to be something that somebody needs to use at some point, or it's valuable to a government, or it's got good staying power. Like Charlie Munger said this, it needs to have a good defensive moat. Same thing with Warren Buffett. And if they don't have these things, you're subjected to this.
Yeah, and there's some supply and demand here, because the amount of physical silver isn't going up. So they're buying it. They're becoming the biggest holder of it. They're doing the paper transactions of that to bring the value of silver down. They have their shorts. They're shorting their own silver. They bring the prices down, and then they make good on their shorts, make billions.
Think about that. You can just turn around and be like, balance sheet's getting a little bit low. Manipulate this over here. Okay, now we got $3 billion.
So what do? You've got all this money. You buy another 20 million ounces at $1,100 an ounce.
I kind of want to click this link here. This is the target is Hades. This is gold mining. So this is gold and silver. The same thing happens with Bitcoin. The difference is it's not like an SEC regulated thing, at least not fully yet. They're starting to. Yeah. Where this stuff happens. So if you think you're going to come into the market and you're just going to be a super great genius, all of these places can see your transactions. Mm-hmm. So you got the pros that do this 40 hours a week or 50 or whatever it is. If you're an investment banker, maybe it's 90 hours a week. Maybe you live there. Who knows? But you have to fight that. You're not going to be able to fight that.
And they have algorithms and programs that look for the large transactions that are happening.
The same programs that most traders use.
Yeah.
We could
see that. Yeah. But they have the money to act on it. We don't necessarily have the billions of dollars that they have.
The average person doesn't have that. Hey, welcome back, Valley. Did I say 2 L's or 1 L? So I don't know how to say it. Interesting topic, gold and silver. But are they doing what they did to GameStop by positioning against but call that the value would go up? I'm trying to figure out what he means.
Are they doing what they did to GameStop by positioning against but call that the value would go up? Okay, so like what Roaring Kitty did?
I don't think it's quite the
Roaring
same.
Kitty was doing calls on GameStop, and then he was getting people to buy it. That's what drove the price up, and then the calls became very valuable. And people who did calls at the same time, they made a lot of money. But then dropped after they closed their position, and the people who didn't lost a lot of money and were just buying it because they're the people propping it up. Silver is a little bit different because they're shorting their own silver supply because they own a greater position than anybody else. They've got the largest stock hole of silver in the world. So they have the ability to short their own silver, and they can control the supply and demand on that. So that's what they're doing. They put shorts against it. It's kind of opposite what Roaring Kitty was doing. They're putting shorts against it, making it go down themselves by doing paper calls on it and making billions.
Yeah, so if there's I think it's a Netflix show, but there's a movie that talks about what Roaring Kitty actually did.
Yep.
It's a pretty good
a
pretty good take on what actually happened. There's something, if you do watch it, I forget what the name of the movie is. Do you know what the show's called? I'll have to look it up at some point, but if anybody if you can get me the comment of it, well, you should watch it, because the one thing I want you to take away from that is when you do a short, you are saying that I believe this company will go down. Now, most people, when they do a short, they have to leverage themselves to do it, which means they don't have the cash on hand do that. Dumb Money. Yep. Oh, Dumb Money. That's okay. So the movie is Dumb Money. I was thinking
because it was the apes. They were called, Smart Money and Dumb Money. The investors were calling them Dumb Money.
Yep. So good movie. What happened was they short this major, like the hedge funds will do this all the time. They'll make a huge short and they'll sit on it. And there's essentially there's like a daily fee that you have to pay for the short. So the longer it goes before it goes down, the bigger the fee is. And eventually, if you're leveraged against that, they can call that, which means you got to pay it back. So in theory, the position that it puts you in, if like GameStop happens, is worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as time goes on, which eventually could bankrupt them. This is why it was such a big deal. You got enough people together to prop up GameStop and stop all the people shorting the stocks. If you actually look on our portfolio, and you go to positions and you go to any one of these companies, you can kind of see what the short interest is on stocks on a daily amounts. Like if we look at UPS here and we look at the shares outstanding, it's got large market cap, percentage of shares outstanding, number of shares short, and then how many days it takes to cover those short interests. So somebody, let's say you were to do an average short and you were to bet against UPS. Well, this is the number of days that it would usually take to cover that position if you were to get your position filled. So when you see this number go up, like GameStop did, that ain't good. At least not for you if you're the one holding it. So what's happening with JP Morgan and the gold and silver and the Bitcoin environment is a little bit different in that respect. In fact, I've got an article here that says Bitcoin is crashing so hard that miners are unplugging their equipment. So essentially, they're mining Bitcoin, but there's a cost to do so. You got to pay for the servers, you got to pay for all the equipment, you got to pay for the electricity. That's a big one, by the way, just to make this happen. And right here basically says that, welcome back. According to CoinDesk, the average cost to mine one Bitcoin is currently, as of like this week, around $87,000 for one Bitcoin. So the fact that Bitcoin is lower than that makes it so. Imagine if you're a Bitcoin miner and you're propping up this whole regime of cryptocurrency, and I don't mean that necessarily in a horrible way, but like you're propping this all up. All of a sudden, you start in like less than 2 months, you start losing more than 20% revenue on all that equipment out in the factory that's mining this Bitcoin. It's just suddenly worthless, instantly worthless. Now, sure, you could sell it. And in fact, I think that most of these, if they go belly up, are probably going to reposition a lot like what Lumen did. I would see them repositioning to like AI data centers or something, or they get gobbled up. But that doesn't stop the fact that like, hey, unless Bitcoin recovers, all these massive mining operations are pretty much, not only are they bending over right now, but they're getting slapped across the face and thrown out into a frozen lake naked. Like they're not doing well. This is a bad thing for these guys. And this is why I would caution people against like, hey, don't try to get involved in this stuff. Make sure that if you do, fine, but make sure it's with money that you can afford to lose 100% of it tomorrow. And there's a lot of people I see buying stocks and buying crypto and doing all this stuff that they're like, oh, well, you know, he did it, so I'm doing it. It's like, okay, are you worth $1 million? No. Okay, well, if you're not worth that, you're going to get screwed because stuff like this happens. And right now, if you're a crypto miner, this is what's happening to you. That's a terrible thing for them. Now, do I think that this is something that's like could be a long-term thing? Yeah, maybe, but I wouldn't pit this against like any one of the companies in our portfolio. If you go back and you look at this, wrong screen. Yes, we are up 255%. Good for us. Whoop-de-doo.
Yay.
Yay, and the peasants rejoiced. But look at the stuff in here. Like there's 3M, adhesives, manufacturing chips, nuts and bolts, telecoms, soaps and pharmaceuticals, oil, mining, like engines, Honda Motors. We only have one of them, but like Hershey's. So you got to have chocolate, guys. I got to admit, if chocolate goes away, we're all dead. So defense contractors, like all the companies that we have on our list are, except for like maybe one or two, sell products and services that people have to have. And the fact of it, at the end of the day, as positive as we want to be about Bitcoin, Bitcoin does not produce anything. So you are fighting against the cost of an asset that's leveraged against the cost of just trying to keep it up. And here's some proof. You've got the $87,000 to mine one Bitcoin, just to mine one. Well, Tom, that's all this. Yeah, but you still need the equipment to do all of that. So if you're trying to invest in something that doesn't actually produce anything and has no intrinsic value outside of, well, people think it's going to be the next big thing, I would say you're gambling. And that's not the position that you want to take unless you're worth a lot of money. If you're worth a lot of money, you can take those risks. But if you are not worth it, I would say this, if your net worth is under $1 million, do not take these bets. Max out your 401k, go with a financial advisor, follow along with us, make sure that you're doing things safely. Because like I said, when we publish our $79,000 as our, like you look at our past thumbnails, it shows it going up very slowly. And you go on and you see, oh my gosh, they're worth $124,000. When the stock market crashes, it crashes 40% on average. Now, granted, it goes up 500% after that, but let's assume that's the case. You take 40% off our portfolio, you're going to come into right about where we say we're worth. We want to make sure that when we tell people this is what we're doing, this is how much it's worth, this is what we're going to get paid, we better be darn sure that that's actually exactly what it's going to be. Because if it's not worth that, then our advice means nothing. So we're not losing sleep over this. We could crash 40%, still hit the thumbnail level of 80 grand or whatever it is, and we're still going to get paid $319.80 every single month, and I'm going to get darn greedy when it crashes because that means everything went on sale. How can you say that? Well, I'm pretty sure that Kimberly Clark, most people are still going to wipe their rear when they go to the bathroom. And if you're not doing that, I'm going to smell you from a mile away because my wife says
unless they got
crazy.
A bidet.
Unless they have a or a really cold one like Brian has.
Still works. Now, I could sum up what Tom is saying in one
2
sentence.
words. Okay, go do it.
Tom's glass is 40% empty.
I'm less than that, man. I'm more pessimistic than that. Thank you for giving me such a positive outlook on life.
Because you're always 40% under what you actually have. Your glass is 40%, not 60% full. It's 40% empty.
40% empty. Sometimes that's my thought process. A few years, so we got a comment. A few years back, 2020 or earlier, this guy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki is his name. Was talking about gold for months now. I guess they start the acquisition early and then promote or advertise, and it's the best thing. So, yeah, it's rigged to some degree. It's really fascinating. If you look at Robert Kiyosaki in the early 2000s, when he's talking a lot like we're talking. And then right around the recession time, he said a few things like, there's these people, man, they're telling me, don't tell them those things. Don't tell them that. And he gets all paranoid and stuff, and he stops talking about it. And all of a sudden you see him get into all this like very risky ventures and telling everybody again he's very rich. Like there's a tone of like he changed, and you can see it. over the course of 20 years. If you go back, look at an early Robert Kiyosaki, he's not the same guy. He might argue that, oh yeah, I'm the same guy. It's, well, yeah, maybe, but you're not saying the same things.
Back when he wrote the book.
Right. So I would venture a guess that, like, that's why I said make sure that what you're buying is safe for the most part. I mean, obviously, if Kimberly Clark, Johnson and Johnson, any one of these stocks like ADP, they go away, then yeah, I mean, we're probably dealing with something a lot bigger in the economy than that. But so CNN here, I'm going to finish up this article real quick. It's like CNN here points out that crypto is hailed as a safe haven by its proponents.
No.
Given geopolitical turmoil and plenty of economic uncertainty, crypto's price should have instead have skyrocketed. Really? Yet precious metals, most notably gold, have fared well while Bitcoin has crashed. No, that I would say they haven't. I mean, silver was crashing pretty hard like a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
gold.
Yeah, and gold too.
They're still up. Let's be clear. Like, gold is still 4,700 an ounce. So that's way up from like even 3 years ago.
But that's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's not like what the day traders want to hear. You know, they want
and
to
it's
hear.
Still up over a year, like year over year. It's up. But yeah, it's gone down considerably from where it was just a month ago.
So Michael Burry is saying he shorted the housing market. There was a Big Short, it's a movie that they feature him in. Argued in a Substack post this week that the further sell-offs could lead to a death spiral. Yep. I don't disagree with that. It's funny if you look at his track record, when you look at like how much he's right and how much he's wrong, it's the same kind of thing when you go to like Motley Fool and you look at the like this one stock may be 5,000%. And they talk about that one, but then there's an article every single week that's talking about the next big one, and they're all referencing that same one stock that went up 5,000%. It's like, okay, so which one is it? Is it the 20 that you're talking about, or the one? And how do you know what the one is going to be it? Like, how do you know that Bitcoin is actually going to become a reserve currency, and that this new Fed guy Warsh is not just going to tokenize the American dollar? Is what he just said in the video that we watched. Like, what's happening there is like, it's basically going to be doom for these cryptocurrencies, if that's what happens. The only alternative is like there has to be a way to make this stuff where you can go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, go to your doctor and use it to pay for things. And you still can't do that right now. So it's, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to own something that A, doesn't produce anything, is expensive to maintain because it doesn't produce anything. It's expensive to maintain, and isn't supported by some sort of sovereign entity somewhere. Now you could say
supported by what the next guy will buy it for from you. So
that scares me. At least I know with Campbell's Soup, and if they go bankrupt, I might get like a bag of goldfish or something.
Now let's be fair. Stocks are pretty much the same way. You sell your stock, you're going to get what the next person is willing to buy it for, right? Mm-hmm. So if the stock's $5 and you want to sell it for 20, nobody's going to buy it for that, right? So it's not worth that. It's going to be worth whatever somebody. If nobody wants to buy it for $5, you might have to sell it for $4.85 and get a loss, right? So stocks aren't that much different, other than the fact that you're betting on the functionality and the balance sheet and the services or products of a company that makes something, whereas Bitcoin only has the ledger and the underlying software that does anything.
So I'm looking at while you're talking, Rumble stuff.
Rumble. Yeah. And to be fair, today Bitcoin is up 10%, 10.4% at 70,200. So, I mean, it was down almost to what? 60,000 at some point.
It was at 65 last night. So
it's up to 1.4 trillion market cap again. But yeah, it could go down tomorrow again.
That's the thing that I can't bring myself to. Even with like Rumble stock, it makes me nervous because they don't pay a dividend either. I am seeing a trend here as I look at them. It's a good one. The negative earnings per share, they're decreasing. They are leveraging themselves. There is more leverage than there was there before, but that's I think this one might be turning around maybe a little bit. But I don't know, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make that case. If you have less than $1 million, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. So we got another article here because somebody asked us. I want to say it was almost 2 years ago now. They were talking about buy MSTR, and it was the same argument that I had back then till now. MSTR leverages itself against Bitcoin, which causes the stock to double if Bitcoin goes up by $1, they go up by $2. What people aren't accounting for, and you can always tell the investors that have gone through a recession versus the ones that haven't. The ones that haven't are just like, no, I ain't touching that. But the ones that have are like, oh yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to be a millionaire in 3 weeks. And they buy. I think Benjamin Graham said that if you read his book, you can always find out who is swimming naked when the tide goes out, and that's basically when the crash happens. So, in this case, look what happened to these guys. MSTR plunged 77% from its high. If you had $100 that you invested in MSTR, it is now worth 23. It's like Zim. Oh, no, thanks. So this is by Wolf Richter from Wolf Street. So today, MicroStrategy is the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. So think about that. Think about what's happening to these guys as Bitcoin crashes more than 30%. As it says, pre-tax loss of $17.5 billion. All right, I want to see what their market cap is. What is it today? MSTR. Let's go look at them. Here we go. $30.8 billion is their market cap. Okay. They lost half of their market cap in less than a month.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to own a company that does that? At least with like AT&T, when they had that huge dividend, you could see it. It was like a train wreck that wasn't slow. It was like almost in slow motion slow. Like you could walk alongside it and you see the person pressed up against the glass. Like they know they're doomed, but they can't get out of this for like 15 years is the whole Warner Brothers thing. They're fixed now. AT&T is doing better now, but like this ain't a slow train wreck. This is like watching a hypersonic missile crash right into a volcano.
Right. Now, keep in mind, if you go down to the next paragraph, it says that their average was $76,000.
Where do you see that?
So, as of February 1st, it holds 713,502 Bitcoins acquired over the years at an average cost of $76,052 per Bitcoin. It went down to 63,000, which incurred that loss. It's now up to 70,000, so it's made quite a bit of that up. It's made half of that up, so it's not quite as bad at the moment. And I mean, if you are in Bitcoin for a while, you're used to that. You're used to the ups and the downs. It's a roller coaster ride of emotion if you let it.
So here's my take. I'm going to criticize the banking sector for a minute. MicroStrategy is not really doing anything than anybody else does differently when they try to value their house for more than what it's actually worth.
Right.
And you can see that in the real estate market taking place with commercial mortgage-backed securities. In fact, I've got that article. This is the very next one. We'll get into that in a minute. But like you, as a bank, there was a big thing that they talked about back in 2020, and they were calling it the Great Asset Bubble. Well, that asset bubble is starting to unravel, and you can see this happen where people think my house is worth $900,000. Well, when you get into these net worth articles and they talk about, well, the average net worth to be in the top 10% or whatever, a lot of that is coming from real estate. Most people, if you're in the top 40% and above, it's a little bit different, but if you're in the bottom 60%, in fact, I would even venture a guess it's the top 20% that it starts to change radically. But if you're in the bottom 80%, most of your net worth is coming out of your house. So, Tom, get to it. What do you mean? Okay, well, if you say your house is worth $1 million, but it doesn't actually sell for $1 million, only sells for $750,000, what was your net worth really? Your net worth wasn't $1 million. Your net worth was $750,000. And what's happening with MicroStrategy here is that people think at the time that Bitcoin is worth $100,000 a coin. Well, it's not now. It's only worth whatever. I think, what is it today? Like 70,000? Did it go back up?
70,000 at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So it went up to $70,000 when they paid $76,000 per Bitcoin. So is MicroStrategy really worth the $30.8 billion their market cap is? On paper, no. So let's go back to the banking sector that I'm going to criticize. The banking sector had this issue. So when you had an appraiser come into a house and say, this house is worth $1 million, they're going to assign you an assessed value based on the comps nearby, and you're going to pay taxes based on what that is, solidifying the fact that this is what I think my house is worth. Well, if only the top 10% of the population can afford that house, and you go to sell it, you're not going to make the money that you thought you were going to make on the house because it's not selling. And if you go to Florida, Texas, you look at any of the markets out there right now, that's exactly what's happening. Like people aren't buying a house because they can't afford it. So here you are, the guy trying to sell your house, and you think you're worth all this money. Maybe you wanted to leverage yourself against a different house, downside, invest, whatever it is you wanted to do. You thought you had this money to use. You didn't have it. The banks will make their assessment based on appraised values for the most part. Sometimes they have people come out and check it and make sure that that's actually the case. But if the banks are saying they're worth this much and they're not actually worth that much, you've got an asset bubble. That's what everybody was talking about. So the same thing's happening now with Bitcoin, where everybody thinks it's going to go to $200,000 by the end of the year. And I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe it will. But right now, it doesn't actually produce anything. So you're valuing something based on a guess. And we have MicroStrategy basing its financial condition on that. And like people came after Trump for valuing his stuff as too much money. Okay, fine. I could see that. But everybody does that. So let's talk about the banking sector doing exactly the same thing that people criticize Bitcoin for. This isn't like me coming down on Bitcoin. So if people think, oh, Tom, you hate Bitcoin, I'm like, no. I'm just saying that demographics matter. The financial reality of what things are actually worth actually matters. And I like to coin it as people know the cost of everything. Like I know how much my car payment is. This is how much my house worth. But they don't know the value of anything. They don't understand what things are actually worth. And in fact, you can see that with car payments today. My God, you got a truck payment at, what, $750 a month? That's crazy. That's more than my first house's mortgage and taxes. Like that's insane. So I don't know. I think he says here, strategy stocks is kind of funny. There's 2 WTF spikes. He always has a chart. I want to see this. There you go. I like his charts. Look what happened when they tied themselves to Bitcoin. Man,
it went up.
I hope they did not spend their money in 2024 or 2023 or even like the last year, because if they did.
Well, according to Saylor, he hasn't sold any of his Bitcoin. And that's where people are afraid. They're afraid that if he sells because of the downturn to pay off investors, then that's going to push even more pressure on Bitcoin. It's going to drop considerably, but he doesn't sell. So basically his strategy is to get investors to buy stock into MicroStrategy, which used to be, and still is, a software company. Mm-hmm. They make an AI and investing tools for businesses and large investing firms. So they do have a product that they make, but Bitcoin is by far the biggest investment now over that. So people invest into their company via stock. He uses that stock to buy Bitcoin. If people then, if it goes down, want to come and collect on their stock, then they could either sell Bitcoin to pay them off, or they get more stock in the company.
So if he doesn't sell and Bitcoin does recover and Warsh is not washing the Bitcoin itself, see what I did there?
They could make a hell of a lot of money.
He could, but we have like Bitcoin's market cap is astronomical right now. So maybe The only thing I think that would happen in terms of like it getting past 100,000, getting to 200,000 is functional usability. Like you could actually start, if you can start using it, I could see it hitting 200,000, but you can't use it very easily right now. So
Right.
so this is the point I was making with the banks, and thank you for like tying that in very nicely, because if Sailor does not sell, just like these houses are not selling, you're still going to pay your tax bill, but at the same time, you're not losing your money yet. If in fact, all these people sitting on these houses, if they wait long enough, which is what most boomers are doing, eventually the Fed's job of keeping the dollar as a reserve currency will create enough inflation that will make it so that baseline salaries and just the equitable value of the assets that people said they were worth will actually get there. What it basically just means is that these homes are just going to have negative investment returns for a while. So if he holds on to it and Bitcoin recovers, not a big deal. But that's a pretty scary drop, for sure.
Yep.
I like reading this guy's articles. He's got a pretty good insight on things. I love the comments too. He's so brutal. He just doesn't care what you think. I'm not sure I should like talk to this guy because he'll be like, "Man, Tom, you're an idiot." Yeah, well, I know, it's okay. So
yeah, well, he's not as brutal as
Caleb Hammer.
I can't ever think of his name. Guy who sits down with the two people or the people, and Caleb Hammer. Yeah, he's not as brutal as him, but he is brutal.
Like when you see Dave Ramsey and you see like Cable Hammer and these people go on, it's kind of like the people who go on Jerry Springer. It's like, why would you do that? Like, why are you subjecting yourself to, like, you agreed to this? You probably signed something that said that's okay. Why would you think that's fine?
I'm pretty sure the people who go on Caleb Hammer know what's going to happen. And he probably sits down with them and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to call you names. I'm going to do this. But at the end, I'm going to give you these free tools to help you get you out of your situation. Because he does seem to care about these people, right?
I do think he helps people too. I do see some of that. So,
and if you watch his shows, like at the end, he does, okay, I'm going to give you a free subscription to my class. I'm going to go through it with you and let you do that. Okay, I'm going to help you get out of debt here and get you on a plan so that you could pay off your car and be able to afford your house and stuff. So, he does seem to help people. I want to see, like, where are these people now episodes to see if they actually did it.
Like The Biggest Loser, where they lose all this weight and then they come back and they're back to where they were.
Yeah.
What I think he should do,
still skinny and they're good.
What I think he should do is you should give him a lollipop at the end, kind of like a doctor's office. You did good. Here's your lollipop.
I'll go on.
So we've been talking about Bitcoin. We've been talking about Warsh. We watched a video from Warsh earlier in the video where he talks about kind of his mindset. He did a very lawyer answer to some of them, but some of them he kind of hinted at what he was thinking. And we're trying to tie this into the recent Bitcoin crash as well as the asset bubble that's a little bit unfolding in 2/3 of the whole country right now. Like in the Midwest, it's not so bad, but if you go down southeast or even west, it's you can see it for sure. And the reason why I think they're being a little bit more hawkish with the interest rates is we've got this article. It's another Wolf Richter article. Sorry. Sometimes I get leveraged into one news site. It's like, oh, I'm going to read all these articles. But this is where it's saying the office commercial mortgage-backed security delinquency rates, that's a hard thing to say, spikes to a record 12.3%. This is much worse than the financial crisis meltdown peak. Now, there's a chart down here in the article I want people to see to show people how this might actually matter. So when interest rates were low, 3%, 2.5%, that's crazy, by the way, it's super low, maybe 3.5%. People were refinancing everything. Everybody was refinancing, and banks made a lot of money on that. Now interest rates aren't as low, and a lot of people are refinancing. I think I read an article, and you might have to go back to past streams or past episodes, but I think it was somewhere around mid-40s, 40% of the loans out there were still in adjustable rate loans, and those started coming due to be refinanced I think it was last November, not this November, but 2024 November. And we talked about, hey, this is going to really affect these businesses within the next year. And you can go back and watch the videos. I know I said it. I don't know which one I said it in, but I did say it.
Go watch all of them until you find it.
Yeah, on repeat. Put it in a retirement community when they're playing the old rugged cross on the organ there, and it'll
tell all your friends to watch it too.
It'll be a perfect. It'll sink in. I'll sink in at the off tempo, slow tempo. Anyways.
And then while you're in there, like, subscribe, and do other things.
So what we were saying back then was this is going to take a while to happen. Everybody thinks like, oh, Trump is the reason for the economy. It's like you don't understand economics if that's what you think. This is all like the previous administration. And even when Biden was office, you couldn't like say, oh, Biden is this. No, that was Trump. So what we're seeing, and like even then, sometimes it takes more than 4 years. Sometimes it takes 5 to 7 years for the stuff to actually truly make a difference. And what we're seeing right now is the results of like all of these adjustable loans for fleets, office loans, whatever it is. Like a lot of these companies will do a quick, like what do they call it? It's like an umbrella loan where you can put a whole bunch of stuff into it, and it's an adjustable loan. So what these people did back in 2020 is everybody was refinancing. Well, 2024, those all came due. Then they had to pay the higher APR. So if you're going from $3,000 or 3%, $3,000 a month to 6%, and I think Graham Stephan did a really good article on the payments. You went from like, as a house, average house, you went from $2,300 a month to $3,000 on your payment. The same thing happens to these businesses. So these companies that are getting these higher rates now are basically going delinquent or not paying their bills at all. And you can see that with some of the homes too. And right now it's like really hurting the commercial sector pretty bad. So this is 1.6 percentage points above the worst moments of the financial crisis. People could say, oh, that's remote work and it's AI. It's not. They might play a part, but it's a small part to that. This has to do, again, with, like I said, demographics. This has got more to do with how much money are they bringing in? How much money are they spending? This is due to a lack of planning. And this is why I tell people when you're doing your investments, make sure you do them in a safe way because you do not know what tomorrow will bring. Look how small this bubble is during the recession. You can see how many years it took for that to actually hit the market. Look at the delinquency rates spiking in 2013. So what happened first? You had people not paying their credit cards. Somebody asked us to look at MasterCard and Visa a couple of years ago. We said, not going to touch it because there's forbearance on those. That happened. So the forbearance took place. Now you see people deferring their payments, not just on their credit cards, but their cars. Look at the auction lots. We did a stream, 2 streams, I think it was 2 streams ago, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we did a stream where we were showing that used Hondas on Carvana and Auto Trader, all of them, not just Carvana, I'm not just picking on them, but the used Hondas and Toyotas were actually more expensive for the same features as a brand new one right off the lot. Like, that's the same thing happened in a recession. You're going to see the repo blow out from that. The used market's going to collapse for a little bit, it might come back. Now, that's all depends on employment. You can see why Trump and the Fed are saying lower rates, lower rates. They don't want this to happen. But, like, this is something that's been going on for a very long time. This isn't like, oh, this happened yesterday. So basically, it went from 2008, when the market crashed, it was like 60%, 40% in some places, and it took all the way to 2016 to finally start to normalize again. But remember, during the crisis, the Fed, and he talked about it earlier in the stream, Warsh mentioned that they started buying government bonds, and they never stopped doing that. That shows up here. So they're subsidizing this. So what we have here is the same problem happening. Like, it's the same story, it's just told a little bit differently. And what's going to happen here is basically the flight to quality is pulling out the rug from the older office buildings. So what everybody's doing is like, well, why were you living in this crusty old office or warehouse? That one's brand new. It's the same price. Let's go over there. So same thing with the used car market. Why would you buy a used car when the new ones are cheaper? Why would I have my office in a used old grungy warehouse when the brand new one that the builders have been trying to build because they've been told there's a shortage, we need to build a bunch of stuff, is the same price? Nobody's going to do that. They're going to go over there. So you're seeing yet another sign of an economic problem. Now, this is also why Brian and I will tell people that, like, we don't have a crystal ball on when this stuff's going to happen. We just see it happening. And that's why we try to invest defensively. Because if you try to say, oh, this is going to happen tomorrow, you're going to find out, like, just like JP Morgan Chase making $10 billion on gold and silver. The house wins. They have a way of just kicking the can down the road. And I don't want to criticize Biden or Trump either, both, because nobody in their current administration is going to want to oversee, like, yeah, I was responsible for the Great Recession. Like, nobody wants to deal with that.
And look at the financial crisis. That happened over 5-ish years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this happens over time. And we're just in the upper echelon, hopefully, of this recent one. I mean, that could take another 5 or 6 years to come to fruition.
It could. I mean, you don't know if they're gonna. Because so here's what could happen: if you got an arm, yeah, sure, you're paying out the nose now, but you go delinquent on this, you get your new other office space, and you got the lower rate again if the Fed lowers rates. So they're propping some stuff up. There's a fundamental problem the Fed has to fix, and it has a lot to do with why Elon Musk had his chainsaw above his head, and we've talked about that before. But what Mark Richter says, what is causing the spike are two big buildings, One World Plaza. $1.2 billion of debt. Holy crap. That's the American way, though, isn't it?
Hey, look, the what JP Morgan paid in their fines could pay for the $940 million of seniors mortgage-backed securities loan.
Doesn't that just tell you how much money is floating around that, like, the average Joe just doesn't have access to? I mean, because they pay the fine and they could pay this, and they're still making like $8.5 billion.
Right. That's crazy.
That's crazy. So the landlord, SL Green and New York REIT, yeah, here we go. We talked about REITs. Look out. We talked about this. Somebody asked us to look at CIO, and we said, not yet. Didn't think it was a bad company, but we saw some problems with delinquencies. This is what happens. And now we said, somebody asked us last week about NVIDIA, and they asked us about Anelli Capital as well. And we looked at Anelli Capital, and that was the same story. It's like, yeah, we own it, but it's like $2,000 of a $125,000 portfolio, very small amount. But the thing that we saw with them is, let's pull it up here. It was share dilution. This won't take a long time. Stop. All right. Get in there. I gotta show everybody this. It's a super exciting, nerdy thing for me that probably nobody cares about, but I care about it. But like I said, demographics matter. Look at their shares outstanding over the course of 5 years. Okay? 365 million to 707 million. And if you think, oh, well, that's probably fine, it might be if the price of the stock is going up or other things are coinciding with that. If you look at this 5-year chart, stock price ain't going up. Stock price going down. They call that net asset value depreciation. So the NAV is dropping. So be careful with these big payers and be careful with the REITs that are paid to do that. You have to look at, when you're looking at real estate, you got to look at the macroeconomics. So, and same thing with, like, I mean, just really the market as a whole. So look at the vacancy rates. Holy cow.
But on the flip side, they've paid their dividend the entire time.
They have. They
so if
have.
they're down and you have money to burn.
Yeah, they have. Like I said, there's only 3 stocks that I think I'd ever, and I did sell Lumen. They went up 500% in, I don't know, the last couple of years because they had that good deal with Microsoft. But
and AT&T.
And AT&T. So I finally sold them at a flat number. But that, like I said, I had 3 stocks that I would have lost money on, and I think Lumen was one of them. They're no longer one. I broke even on them, even after inflation. So the other one that I would have lost money on was Anelli Capital, but Anelli Capital has actually gone up so much that they're flat now. So the only one really then is MBT, and that's that Russian telecom that I guess if they get liquidated, JP Morgan is the financier of that. I guess they're the estate manager, if you will. They will have to determine when that gets closed if there's no peace, and they'll probably reissue this ticker symbol. And supposedly, if I sold it, I would get like 40% of my value in Russian rubles. because we're an unfriendly country, and I would have to pay a 60% tariff. If I didn't have to pay that, and there was like peace and they decided to close out the position and I get the dividend checks, I'm actually up 50%. So if that happens, I haven't lost money on any stocks in my whole career, except for the telecom one, I guess. But even then, I don't know what's going to happen with them. So this just highlights why you need to be careful, why you need to pay attention to this stuff, why you need a financial advisor, why you should avoid risky things like Bitcoin, and pay attention to things like this Export-Import Bank of the United States. Pay attention to what the government's doing. I hate talking about politics. I hate talking about government policy because it's an issue. But at the same time, their policies influence your investments. So you need to pay attention to what that stuff's doing at the very least to know how this might affect you. So when a crash comes, you know how to handle it. So we've had a few comments. I want to go and check those out here for just a second. Because we are pretty
Chevron's first.
Chevron's first? What
Chevron
do you got,
is
Brian?
making moves with new agreements. What's your thoughts?
They
got new agreements. Venezuela, and then possible is Greenland as well.
Yeah, I think ExxonMobil might have a part to play in Greenland as well. I don't think Trump's going to kick them out of there, but
yeah, I think they'll have a bigger.
Go ahead.
I think they'll have a bigger part to play, ExxonMobil.
Do you think Chevron is going to eclipse ExxonMobil? Let's take a look at their market cap. Because they're number 2, Exxon's number 1, right? So $354 billion. We go back and take a look at ExxonMobil. This kind of reminds me, I don't know why this reminds me of this, but the movie Don't Look Up.
They're like 6 from the top. Don't look up.
When they get off the spacecraft and it's like Chevron and ExxonMobil and both executives.
Somebody had to pay for it, right?
I don't think they're going to pass ExxonMobil anytime soon. There's $610 billion at ExxonMobil. So
yeah, they're both going up.
Yeah, they're so with Chevron. Got to go back to them here. The thing you want to look for them is their earnings per share, and you want to look at the trailing 12 months price relative to those earnings, so the PE ratio. And I think they have a nice little, yeah, they're pretty high for their 52-week range. We try to buy the companies. In fact, if you were to look at our portfolio and you were to look at the positions, the ones that we're looking at adding to are the ones that are doing the worst. So we would be looking at Campbell's Soup, Kimberly-Clark. We already bought ADP a few weeks ago, American States, Pfizer, Devon, Procter & Gamble. But keep in mind, too, all of these companies all pay a dividend already. So even though they're down, it's like, well, they're still paying us. It's just like we said with the Bitcoin MSTR. It's like if the guy holds on to it, he's probably going to be fine when they recover, assuming they recover. So,
now, could Chevron's high become their new floor?
Could.
Sure, but not as likely. It depends on how much contracts, how much money they're. We'd have to see their cap grow.
Yeah. Demographics. That would be more like economics, though. That's more of an economics thing.
Yep.
So what's the next one? We got some banks advertise Bitcoin so they can put high fees and charge, and also the risk of meme Bitcoin would be on holders. Yeah. Well, if you own Bitcoin, you own the risky stocks. The banks are just like, nope.
Eating up those transactions.
They'll pay. You'll pay the fee, but
we got technology since this is our bread and butter, right? Since RAM and other important functions are getting expensive, which they are, and stretching market of techs and games and databases, what would happen to Samsung, Amazon, Nvidia, Broadcom, Qualcomm, etc., Intel? Yeah.
Samsung just released a new trifold phone, and I'm going to make that my mobile office. We might do a stream someday, and I'm sitting on a beach somewhere because I became too stressed as a business owner and had a mental breakdown. But no, I got this nice, it's like you see with those reflective foils, it'll just be a reflective nerd article of something.
At some point, it's just going to be a 40-inch screen that you're just going to unfold.
Pull it out of your pocket and uncrumple
stick it in the sand. There you go.
I guess that phone costs $3,000. It's crazy expensive.
Now, Apple is rumored to come out with a folding phone, maybe in November or maybe next November, but in the next year or two.
I guess the Z Fold 8 has no crease in it, so you fold it out and it's like completely flat.
Yeah, that's what Apple's working on too. No crease.
So since I'm tying this into the question to show you that these guys make products, and these products have value. Even NVIDIA with its astronomical, I think NVIDIA's valuation is astronomical. But Brian, you said it best, I think it was about a month or 2 months ago, that when somebody buys a 401k or like an index fund or something like that, if you buy just a straight up index fund, some of that, if it's a large cap one, goes into NVIDIA anyway. So if you believe that like these companies are going to go down, they might, but every paycheck everybody gets that puts back into these index funds is just going to help prop it back up again. So instead of looking at the market cap and the price of the stock, I would instead encourage you to look at earnings per share. And let's go into statements. And we're going to look at one thing that I like looking. This one neat trick will help you be a nerd just like me. I would look at the total, not the total. Hang on. Don't look at that. Nothing to see there. Net income. And you want to look at their operating income too, because net income can come from the sale of assets. So you want to be, does it have to be an investment related question? No, it doesn't have to be an investment related question. I've got answers to all of the world's problems.
We do.
We know everything.
Want life questions, you know? Should you have that baby? I don't know.
Brian doesn't have his turban or his monk robe on right now, but he can go get it.
I'm working on finding that crystal ball.
So look at the net income of NVIDIA here. $72 billion, okay? Usually tech companies trade 15 times earnings. That's gross revenue. So if you're looking at what their gross revenue is, $130 billion. You're going to multiply that by 15. You're looking at about a $1.8 to $2 trillion market cap. Does that mean they're overvalued? Yeah, it means they're overvalued right now. But to make them come down is going to be tough, especially with a lot of inflation the way it is. So we want to look at one other thing too. Well, two other things actually. You want to look at their cash flow. You want to see some positive things with cash flow. We do see that. And then the other thing I want to pay attention to is their operating revenue. Their total operating revenue has gone up more by their net revenue. So I wouldn't count NVIDIA out right now. Those are all good numbers.
What was your previous question?
My previous question.
No. This was...
Oh, yeah, the previous question.
Mardo Chaos. Does it have to be an investment related question? No. Oh, can you answer my previous question? I don't see a previous question.
What was your previous question?
Yeah.
Are you always this nerdy? Yes, I am, and I am somewhat sorry for it.
Why are you guys talking to three people?
Why do you talk so slow? How come nobody watches your channel? Can I short Bitcoin and become a millionaire?
Do you guys have nothing better to do with your time?
Was the moon landing faked? I don't think it was.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't pop up on my screen yet. Okay.
That's funny. He's on YouTube.
He's on. Yeah, I got it.
I don't think it was. I've got friends that work at NASA, and at one point I had an offer to be their janitor because I was so special. No, right, I don't think it was. What do you think, Brian?
Where did this come from? I think we went to the moon. I think that there are some...
And they found Bitcoin there.
That's where Bitcoin came from. I think there were some parts of it that were recorded in a studio. I do. But I absolutely think we went to the moon.
What, really? You think they did that in the studio?
For promotion or stuff that they couldn't get actual video of. So they staged it to show to Russia.
I'm surprised. I could see it, but I'm surprised. I thought you would have been like, no, it was 100% genuine.
I love a conspiracy. I love a good conspiracy, but yeah.
There was
moon landings.
The Mars rover landing where they showed that. I had actually somebody says, wow, that looks that. How did they get the video of that? It's like that's not actually the video of the rover. That's a computer animation of it. Satoshi lives on the moon. It's possible he could be there. He could have been. I guess I saw on Facebook there was something about Epstein where they were saying that they found out that he funded Bitcoin and all the crypto guys were like melting down over it. Like they couldn't believe it. He's Satoshi. What?
He's the guy who created it.
I mean, you got to have some way to go under the radar, and that's I guess that's what that was peddled under. So,
well, that's where those structures come in on the moon. The structures on the moon, it's all Satoshi. That's where they made Bitcoin.
I think that's where Cardano got that little logo. There's like the alien structures on the dark side of the moon. It's probably what that was.
Well, that's why Doge is always going to the moon, right?
They got to go pick up supplies.
That's where it came from, right?
They got to refuel.
What else can we talk about? We could talk about Minnesota.
Oh God!
And that stupid guy that got himself killed.
Yeah, no, that's probably too controversial. So Mind Over Matt says he clammed a few more shares of AT&T a couple weeks ago when they dipped. That's I've been thinking about AT&T, and that's a conundrum for me because, I mean, look at that. They're up 75% almost. I don't like buying a stock. It's like up that much. I want to go to a store and buy something for $10 and come back next week. It's $17.50.
Yeah.
So I like AT&T, but
if you own it and you drip into it, I guess I'm not mad at that. But I'd rather put that money into a stock that's doing poorly and then get the investment dollars as well as the dividends, you know?
We're thinking about it because we only have originally cost basis $1,200 in AT&T, so maybe we'll add some more. I've been wanting to. It's just when they go up that much, it's like it's not on sale anymore. It kind of stings. It's kind of like me wanting to buy more Intel. We bought $10,000 of Intel. It's up $10,000, double the price. Now, granted, Intel's only a $240 billion market cap. If you were to get them to NVIDIA's market crap, what's that?
Market crap.
Market crap. You get them to market crap of $4 trillion.
That's what NVIDIA has. Market crap.
They got market crap. Somebody's going to coin that somewhere.
We should.
But that's a 20 times, like you go up 20 times. So 20 times $20,000, that's pretty good. It's 400 grand, but I don't know. It's hard for me to buy when a stock does so well. Let's see. Huge stocks.
I want Intel to do well so they could give us a dividend and watch our dividends double.
How close are we to enter a war with Iran? They're
not very close.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be much of a war already because they were at war with Iraq for a long time and they were bouncing back and forth. And there was I think it was in the 80s a war between the United States and Iran, and it lasted like a day.
Well, think about the Reagan-Iran Contra scandal, where we sold weapons to Iran so that they can overthrow the Ayatollah. That worked out well.
There's some people talking right now too about the whole maybe the CIA is funding these protests in Iran's they said that like the leaders came out and said, oh yeah, that's the Americans. Like, I don't think it's 100% the Americans. I think the fact that when you go to Tehran, they have a problem with water. Like I saw this in the articles for a number of times. They're running out of water. So if you try to take a shower and nothing comes out of the faucet, you're going to be kind of mad. Take a drink, can't take a drink. I mean, yeah, there's some real problems there. And I think that if there was a war with Iran, they themselves have an issue with their own population. I mean, I saw articles that were talking about, and I don't know, I hope the number's not going up, but Iran protest death count. It's like 30,000 death count. I can't type or talk today.
What is wrong with you?
Oh, there's so many things. So
okay, my take. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
You paused. My take on Iran is if we do get involved, it'll be a proxy in some way. We'll have the surrounding area go in that are our allies, and we'll support them, and that'll be it. Like, other than the fact that Iran has nuclear capability of some sort, they have no defense.
this the other part too is they're pretty battered and they haven't been able to rebuild their military very much. So they might be a
look what
terrorist proxy,
Israel
but,
did to them.
yeah, I wouldn't think it would be much of a war.
No.
The thing that's really sad to me is this number I've got highlighted on the screen here.
Yeah.
It's 36,000. We have a problem with 2 people, and I still have a problem with 2 people dying protesting the whole ICE thing. These guys got like 36,500 people killed. That's like, I don't care if you're Biden or Trump, somebody should do something. Like you can't, that's evil. You don't do that. So I don't know. I think they're going to bomb them for sure. We've got our military over there, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to stop any capabilities they have of funding terrorism or killing their own people. At least I hope. I hope though that it doesn't make it worse. So for all the people thinking like, oh, this is terrible, Trump shouldn't do that. It's like, yeah, but there's no good answer in that situation anyways. It's the whole thing is bad. So,
and I'm not a fan of world building or going over. I mean, like what we did with Venezuela, we took out their president and just kidnapped him. There has to be, if that happens, or if we support the Iranian people to revolt, kind of like Libya, there has to be some sort of long-term support of that country then to make sure that whatever they decide to go, and what if they have democratic elections or whatever they do, it is well thought out and done properly, so that we don't have another like Iraq
or Afghanistan,
to where there's just this vacant void of power, and now there's a struggle to capture that.
The thing that's really sad about that is when we pulled out of Afghanistan, if you looked at the aftermath. Now, if you looked at the Christian ministries and Red Cross and humanitarian places, they said that the people that were coming in were like going house to house, murdering their oppositions. And we were out of the country, so we couldn't do anything about it. So it's like, if we get involved there, this can't be one where it's like, okay, we bombed everything, you're on your own. Like it can't be like that. So I hope the negotiations go really well. It doesn't seem like they are though, from what I've been reading about. Campbell's soup the numbers are slightly better.
Yeah, they're working on it.
It's
going to take them a little while to dig out of that.
You know what I think they should do? I think they should come out with a soup that has actual manufactured meat in it, just to see what happens. Do like a small pilot, just to like stick it to that CTO guy or the CIO guy's like, only poor people buy our products. Yeah, okay, Mr. High and Mighty. Would you like Grey Poupon with your, like, come on, dude. Seriously?
Better yet, I think they should make soup out of goldfish. A goldfish soup.
With fake meat.
Everybody loves goldfish, right?
With the fake meat. It'd be the fake meat. See, we should be in marketing for Campbell's Soup, and they will not go bankrupt tomorrow at all, I promise. Let's see.
Matt, I think Mayor McCheese could never be in Mortal Kombat because he would rule. He would just take everybody out. There's no competition. It'd be too easy. Overpowered.
Color me completely blind and ignorant to this. Who is that?
That was Matt on Rumble?
No, Mayor McCheese.
Oh, Mayor McCheese is McDonald's. Mayor McCheese of Burgerland or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Mayor McCheese. He was a big hamburger dude.
Okay. That comes back to me, sort of.
They're always roasting the Hamburglar.
Those are kind of like, bad memories, but they're there. I repress those.
And of course, Valley says, what about a trade war? Which country is next to be hit with 20 to 50%?
So I don't think people understand what Trump's doing with the tariffs. There is a negotiating tool.
Yeah.
Any company that hears about it, they might freak out, but then they talk to him, they realize what he's trying to do with it, and usually he works a deal with them. Trump is one of he's a businessman first, so he's going to try to negotiate a deal. That's what he's trying to do. Now, I'm not going to get into the semantics of whether or not I agree with it, whether or not I think it's right, whether or not I think it's good for the country. I do think that it helps. I'm not sure how much it helps, but he's using this to get people's attention. because for a long time, I think there's some truth to the statement that the Americans were just like pushovers with everything. And I do think there needs to be a fair deal across the board. I don't think that we should be like screwing over the EU or NATO or anybody else, but I do think that we shouldn't have people freeloading off of us. Like, for example, China's buying all of our treasury bonds. Like, they're the ones that have been buying our bonds, holding our debt, and then they've been using it to leverage against our real estate, so the average American person has trouble buying a house.
To be fair, it's always somebody. I mean, if it wasn't China, then it was Japan. Japan owned everything. If it wasn't Japan, then it was Europe owned everything. Then if it wasn't somebody always owns our debts, right? All our bonds. But I think I'm more mad at China stealing our IP, making it so that, because all these companies go over to China, set up manufacturing because it's cheap there, and they give us all sorts of incentives, but they
do
put a stranglehold on your company if you're there. You want the money, so you go there, but then they own a lot of it. Then they take your products, because there's people are in there making the products for cheap labor, and figure out how you do it, and then they start up a company and make the product for cheaper. So... and there's nothing you could do about it. You can't sue them. You can't. Yeah. There's nothing you can do. And then you just, some people, if you're a small enough company, you lose your company because you can't compete. And that's it. I'm more pissed off by that as far as unfair trade.
If they weren't so oppressive of their people either, like that's a really oppressive place.
It is.
I don't think people realize how bad it is, but you can't, they live in their own bubble and they're huge. So you can't just like call them out on it, because you'll disappear.
Yeah. Now, which country's next? Here's what I would do. I would go find out all of our trade partners, find out how much they're charging us versus we're charging them, find the most lopsided one, and then go find out what the president or whoever the leader of that country is and what they've said about Trump. If they said bad things about Trump, they're next. That's what I would do.
He does have an ego. I will give you that. That is true. Yep. I don't like the man. He's like, what'd they say? 90% tariff. It'll be the most beautiful tariff.
What does that even mean?
Everybody says so, that you've got the worst tariffs. Nobody does tariffs like me.
That's it.
I could see it.
50% tariffs until they take it down.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Campbell's recovering.
I think, honestly, I think Denmark is next. Until it gives us Greenland.
I could see that.
I think that's the next one.
He's already like threatening NATO and actually pulling back on funding for that. Campbell Soup partnership with KLG, Morningstar Farms, make some
wicked awesome vegetarian meat subs.
That's true, they do. That is true. My wife would not eat those.
Wicked awesome. Are you from Boston? It's wicked awesome.
The only reason why I know that's true is because my kids watch Carmen Sandiego, and one of the guys is from Boston, and he talks like that.
Yeah.
I have no cultural experience outside of that.
I got it from Saturday Night Live. Like the old Saturday Night Live.
Right. Campbell's Soup, look at their net change in cash here. This is quarterly. So you go back. I'm liking some of these.
It's going the right way.
Finally. 2 years later.
Well, it takes time to absorb a company.
It's like that meme that went around. 1 year later.
Tom, your turn. Who do you think is next? I told you who I thought.
I got to go with Mulligan.
Mulligan? No, you have to answer.
I have to
Gun
answer?
to your head. Answer or die, Tom.
Answer or die. If Canada doesn't make a deal and it's not Denmark, because I would agree with Denmark, it'll probably be like Greenland and or Denmark. But Greenland's got 30,000 people, so it's not like that's going to do anything. So it'll probably be Canada.
56,000.
Which sucks, because we were like right next to Canada. Like, no.
You know, I would have said Canada because he wants Canada to be a state, but we already like went through Canada and made a deal. So unless like the new prime minister does some pretty mean stuff and starts calling them names or whatever, which he has,
They both have. It's kind of sad.
I don't know. It sounds like Alberta. Okay, let's go Canada. It sounds like Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia are talking about seceding from the Union anyway, and denouncing the Crown and becoming their own sovereign country, or a state of the United States, because we're their biggest trading partner anyway.
That's quite the statement.
It is. And there's been referendums already created.
I did not know that. You've been watching this stuff. That's
I have been.
That'd be kind of nice to be able to get to Alaska without having to like get your live ID and passport and or real ID, get all that put together. My IT guy came out for a second.
You could drive there.
Kimberly Clark, as I expected. So we're looking at stocks as we're talking, and the one thing I would have expected to show up, which it hasn't yet, and I think it's because Kenvue hasn't been fully acquired yet. We'd have to check this, but I would have expected their liabilities to increase, because when Johnson & Johnson offloaded Kenvue, they gave them a bunch of debt, and I know they were working on turning it around, but some of that's still there a couple of years later, so it's not showing up yet. I want to buy that. I want to buy more. I want to have another thumbnail with a piece of toilet paper with money on it again.
I could just put that out there.
for no reason. Just toilet paper money. That's how do you get rich? You buy toilet paper. Oh, wisdom. Triple ply. Don't buy the single ply. That's just not. You gotta have the good stuff.
Yeah, oh hell yeah. Well, unless you got a bidet.
Then you still gotta have something.
Not to get graphic, but there's like not much after you wash it good. There's not much there. So Mind Over Matt, Morningstar Farmers Black Bean Burgers are really good. Let me ask you a question. Is that the brand that Costco uses? Because Costco has black bean burgers, and those are very good.
Every time he says Morningstar, I'm thinking of like the investment firm.
Yeah.
Like Morningstar Finance. That's what I'm thinking of.
They're long on...
Look at the this is why their stock has been dropping outside of the acquisition. They don't look bad. I don't think it's a good time for these. This is United Health.
There's Morningstar. Yeah.
I don't think it's a good time for these guys. So
no. United Health? I think it will be.
Let me pull up Kimberly Clark. So the Campbell Soup looks okay right now. United Health, not so much. And then Kimberly Clark will be the last one that we cover for the day. And then we're going to go. So if you guys have any other questions, ask them now, because we're going to call it after that.
You guys got to get here earlier.
Yeah, no kidding. Everybody shows up like
we start
halfway
around
through
1.
the stream.
Maybe we should start at 3.
9 o'clock.
We'll go 3 to 6.
So they can return 15% on their capital as of now. Their competition, I'm looking at that toilet paper stock. That's still pretty good. The only one that's close is Clorox, which I like Clorox. Actually, Clorox is beyond them, so. Here's your comment.
They used to have Morningstar from time to time in Costco where I live, which is not Boston. Boston. You got there in their car, got off your couch, went to your car. But I haven't seen it in the least. Yeah, Costco's weird that way because they like rotate their brands and their stocks, and they'll just get rid of things for no reason.
Or it's just the fact they couldn't negotiate with their carrier and they try to undermine them because they're Costco.
And they're trying to get bulk, right? If they don't have the right bulk, then they're not going to buy it. So, and then they move it around their store so you can never find things. But I like Costco. I go there all the time.
I like Kimberly Clark's numbers too. There's more to it than the numbers, obviously. I'm not just going to be like, oh, look, that's a cool number on the balance sheet.
There's acquisitions. There's stuff they're doing with their money. there's dead bodies. If there's enough dead bodies, then you got to have concern. But if there's only like 5% dead bodies, you're pretty okay.
How do you know you're going to buy a stock, Tom? Well, if I walk into the factory and it says we've had 0 days since our last accident and the police are out front, probably not a good idea.
Unless they're dog food. If they're Purina, then you're okay.
It's part of the product.
Dogs don't care. They don't know.
That changing cash ain't so good, though. But I would expect that because of the acquisition.
DBP you have positioned because you like the product or because they're doing much better than other competitors?
They are not doing better than their competitors.
No. They were at one point. Now, they weren't even when we bought it the first time, they weren't doing better than competitors. Let's be honest. But there was a promise there, and they made things that people needed. And I think it was like just after the pandemic, right? That we bought those, like 21 or 22.
It was
how long have you been doing this?
It's been 3.5 years. Let's take a look.
It was a pretty good time to buy them, but
this is Rumble. I clicked the wrong one.
Look at all that Rumble.
Campbell Soup. So Campbell Soup in a recession, if you go way, 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 way back to when we bought them, we were seeing signs of what's happening today happen back then. And during a recession, so you're going to kind of get into the mind of Tom for just a second.
Uh-oh.
Companies like DuPont, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, that you can see that they're high margin products, like they're expensive shampoos and stuff. People stop buying those. They buy like Suave or the low margin, cheaper products. So their margin goes down. You can see it affect the business. The thing that actually goes up is companies like Campbell's Soup, which is the CTO so aptly put, we only sell our crap to poor people. I don't agree with that sentiment at all. I think that's disrespectful, number one, but he's not entirely wrong, because you will see that people will stop going out to eat more and they'll start buying in-home meals. They'll buy more Campbell's Soup. Campbell's Soup had another problem where, like, my generation, the millennial generation, was really heavily into eating health foods. Brian, it was September of 2023, so we've had these guys for all that time. Look at the dividends: $7.40, $21, $60, $70. They've been paying us very well. So anyways, during a recession, low-cost products that still provide a good value for what they are. No, notice I said value, I didn't say cost. Are companies that we were looking at. At the time, we were trying to position the portfolio to leverage ourselves against a company that was trading low. They were a good price relative to what they did. That's one of the reasons why we were so big into Intel at the time. I did some book value calculations. I'm like Elmer Fudd.
Your enunciation of words is just stellar today.
That's great. I'm doing wonderful today. But the Intel stock was trading below their book value. So if you looked at the company and you sold off everything, all their fleets, all their buildings, you cashed out all the shares, cleared out the bank account, and they were nothing, you would have actually gained money on the stock. Like, you would have gotten money back into your wallet. Like, that never happens. Usually when you sell a used car, it's worth less than you paid for it. I don't know, except for dealers and many people that make a lot of money selling cars. In this case, it was a giant chip manufacturer that had billions and billions and billions of dollars of assets. So we jumped into them. We did the same thing with 3M. We did the same thing with Fastenal. We did the same thing with AT&T. AT&T was getting bludgeoned to death because of the Warner Brother acquisition. And we're like, no, that's still a good company, and they're the largest telecom that does like cell phones and landlines, and now it's fiber in the United States. So everybody's like, oh, Warner Brothers. I'm like, yeah, but the fiber. So we bought AT&T. In fact, we even met. We had an interview with the guy who had decided to cut the dividend. I think it was Brett. And it was a pretty good interview. It was more like we didn't really get to answer a lot of questions. It was more like him defending AT&T to us. So, I get it. But we saw a good value for what the company produced. Like, it was undervalued. That's what we're trying to find. Now, it's hard to do that when you're also trying to find a company that pays a dividend. So we thought that, hey, Campbell Soup has some pretty good products. They've got a pretty good defensive moat. They're in a lot of stores. They're a product that people will buy when there's a recession. They screwed up a few things and they're trying to fix it. They were going through an overhaul. They're still going through the overhaul. They moved their buildings. They were transferring their headquarters. They're changing where their manufacturing is. They built a whole new facility. Like a lot of changes were happening, and that affected, if you actually looked at Campbell Soup stock, it was affecting the numbers that you see on their statement, which that's why I say when we don't just buy it based on this number, that's why. Because you have to understand why that number went up and why it went down to understand what's actually happening to the business. So in reality, you got to believe in the product, or at least the seance of the product. You got to believe what their purpose is. And then you
Customer
also
base.
have to believe like their moat. You have to know that this company is worth it. So we really try to find businesses that are undervalued, that produce good products, that are valuable to the people as a whole. This is why you don't ever see me buying gold and crypto and silver and all, like, because they don't do anything. Now, gold actually has value because you see it in a lot of home theaters as a conductor. So,
now Campbell's, just like anything, it's a risk. We take a less risky approach to all these things. But as you look for Campbell Soup, it had the same profile as 3M or Intel or any of the ones that we looked at that were doing poorly but had a good product and had similar type numbers where it looked like, okay, they could pull out of this and become better. And they paid a dividend. So it was one of those ones. But as of today, they're down 16%. And keep in mind that we hold stocks long term. So in the short term, they're down 16%. So over 10 years, they might be up 50%, 100%. You know, you don't know. We don't have the crystal ball. And if we did, you know, all of our stocks would be up 1,000%.
They will be eventually because it's me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're looking at. Not all of them are going to be winners, but we have enough winners to overcome any of the shortcomings that we may have short term. So,
right.
Yeah. Matt, Costco is big on Kirkland brand, it seems, because Kirkland brand is Costco's brand. So it's their house brand, kind of like Husky is the house brand of Home Depot. So
They're
if you see anything
themselves.
yeah, they that's the company. Or Tool Shop is Menards. So all the tool stuff that's Tool Shop, Menards makes those.
It's like Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola Bottling Company. It's kind of the same business, but they're not for tax reasons. I would like to point out with Campbell Soup, before we wrap it up entirely, look at the total common shares outstanding compared to what you saw with Anelli Capital. They had 302 million shares outstanding, and today they're down to 298. So despite all of that, they are still being responsible as much as they can be with their money during the transition phase. We like it when we see businesses be responsible with their money. We don't like it when we see outrageous corporate salaries for the executives. We don't like it when we see the employees being treated bad. We like seeing the good product. We even called out a Rio stock some time ago. It's like, hey, you know, the people that worked at your company were complaining, and you guys said stick it. That's not good. We don't like that because long term, remember what I said about qualified dividends versus ordinary dividends. When you're in a higher tax bracket, you pay out the nose for ordinary income, like 37% taxes or 39% taxes. When you're getting qualified dividends like all of this, you can make 98 grand without paying a dime on qualified dividends. Now you get above that, you start paying taxes. So you really, like for tax advantage accounts, you need to leverage
pretty damn good salary.
Yeah, like you need to leverage things like your 401k, the HSA, because as we see, the government, no matter who's in the administration, is not very good of managing other people's money. No offense to the government. But like I would rather try to keep as much of that for my family, myself, my friends, the people that work at my company, than to just shovel it away because I got to pay a massive tax bill. Now, granted, I do pay insanely, it's sometimes crippling tax bills, but we do pay them.
And I don't see this as being an acquisition company. I don't think anybody's going to acquire them anytime soon. I think they're strong enough to withstand anything.
That's a demographics question.
Yeah.
So mid cap, they could be bought out at $8.56 billion, but you got to look at who could buy them out. So one thing to
do. Or who would want to.
Everybody. It's goldfish. What are you talking about? Chunky clam chowder soup, man. That's good stuff. Ingredient could, but they're smaller.
Yeah. So it's happened before. A smaller company eats up a bigger company.
Look at the market cap. It'd be very difficult for one of these other companies in a highly regulated industry to actually come in and gobble them up because they're all about the same size. Campbell's is in the middle of that. So in theory they could, but the balance sheet isn't showing enough trouble that it would be like that. If you want to see what really happens, look at Kenvue stock when Johnson & Johnson dropped them, or Warner Brothers when AT&T dropped them, or Solventum when 3M dropped them, or like I could just keep going on and on and on and on and on. Like this stuff happens. Yeah, it's very common. Do you guys check out the company or manager and the whole team if they sell? Yes, we do. Insider.
We do.
Yeah, we check that.
Insider trade. That's part of our deeper dives into these companies. When we see one that we like, when we go deeper, we do look at that stuff.
That yield's awfully high. I don't like that. This one's too high too. I think these guys are going to struggle for a minute. But so my takeaway is Warsh is very clearly a lawyer.
With a strong financial background.
I like some of the things he said. I'm going to give him a chance. We'll see what he does. I'm not sure how he's going to fix it because, it's a pretty big engine. The Bitcoin is still Bitcoin.
It's Bitcoin. It'll keep going. It'll go back up.
I think greed, never underestimate the power of greed, man.
Right. Exactly.
Campbell's Soup, we're not buying yet, so don't quote us on this. We haven't bought yet, but Campbell's Soup right now and Kimberly-Clark both look pretty good. The problem we have is our cost basis. If you sort stocks by our cost basis, they're pretty high up on that list. So we'll do a stream next week. Brian will pick the topic. It might be Star Wars because stocks are boring. Who knows?
Kathleen Kennedy's out. She's gone. So we might actually get good with Dave Filoni, get some good Star Wars again.
They're going to bring back Mandalorian and beat him to death.
Well, they've got a show or a movie coming out.
12
Mando
more
and Grogu.
Seasons.
But it's a movie, yeah. It's supposed to bring everything together at some point. That was Kathleen's big plan, I think, was to take Ahsoka and Mando and a couple of the other series that they had, Acolyte, and bring them together into a movie kind of like Marvel, Infinity War type style, and then bring all these people in and have some sort of something happening. But her premise was stupid, and she's gone. So hopefully...
Don't sugarcoat it or anything.
No. So hopefully that's better. Mando movie.
I
think it's actually going to be better than we think. I'm going to watch it, but I'm being reserved on my expectations.
I got to admit, somehow, I got those Star Wars things you can see in one of our episodes in my dining room up on the ceiling. My mother-in-law thought, oh, that's a snowflake. It's not a snowflake. But she thought it was my son.
It kind of looks like a snowflake.
My son's 4, and somehow he goes, oh, that's Baby Yoda. I'm like, how do you know that? You're 4. Like, he hasn't watched the Mando. Like, he was 2 when we were watching that stuff. So somehow he knew who that was. And I'm like, no, that's Grogu. That's not Yoda. They're different. And the nerd's really coming out of me steeply right now, and I got to stop that before it gets too bad. So I think...
I could talk Star Wars all day. And to answer Vele, our stock picks are random, it seems. We try to get it, like, in the beginning of the month, like the first couple weeks. But it always seems to end up like the last thing that we do. And it's like crunch time that we got to get this thing out because the month is ending.
I'll give you the short version. It's too much information that causes decision constipation, and Brian has to shove it out of me because I'm sitting there, well, I don't know. And
Pick
then
one.
the market will drop really bad, and I'll get really greedy and I want to buy it, but then it's like I find out it goes up the day I want to buy it because we got to wait a day or so. It's more opportunistic and more of a passive thing, but it is once a month.
So at the end, what basically will happen is he'll come back to me and say, you know what do you think, Kimberly Clark or Campbell Soup? And I'll look at him. I think Campbell Soup's the better play right now. He said, you're right, Kimberly Clark. I'm buying it.
That's actually happened. That has happened a few times. Although Brian did get the United Healthcare one.
I've got a few of them.
Yeah, there's been a few of them. So
I brought Rio to you.
It's circumstantial, but it highlights again what we've been talking about: patience and making sure that you can buy it and be fine with like losing the money if you're going to lose it. It also highlights the fact that we like the income. I want to show you that one last time before we leave. But we'll be back next week, Friday. That'll be hopefully around 1:00 Eastern. Maybe. I don't know. I got to be at a meeting in the morning, and then I got to come back from that. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe 2:00, but we'll be around. But this is we care about this, and we care that this number is sustainable because we're trying to build a portfolio based on if we had to use this in the event of a problem. That's the synopsis of the whole thing. Like, it needs to be sustainable. And by the way, if you looked at our stream the last 2 months, this number's crept up without any investments because people natively give pay raises. Dividends themselves go up about 10% per year if the company is healthy. If they're not, they're flat or they get eliminated.
Mm-hmm. And Ahsoka was hit or miss. Some episodes were really good. Some episodes were not.
You know how else you do? You drink a lot of coffee.
You get constipated. Mental constipation.
Mental constipation. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate you guys showing up. I think that's it for the week. If you got topics, put it in the channel. Put it in the comment. You want us to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And we'll see you all next week. You got anything else to add? If you haven't subscribed and all that stuff, and you're at the end here, then please do so. It helps. I hate begging, and you hate listening. You hate hearing it. So I don't like begging, but I'm gonna do it every single time. I'm gonna do it every single time because I ain't too proud to beg. I guess that's it. That's it. Happy investing, guys. See ya.